What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 2 nanoseconds Chapter 31 The Cake Island that was almost destroyed. Advertisement Chapter 31 The Cake Island that was almost destroyed. Gia ha 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 ha, you were really right to come here this time, to let Lousy see such an interesting scene. Golden Lion laughed loudly. While laughing, he controlled hundreds of pirate ships to float away from Cake Island. Here, Captain, do we need to leave? A captain under Golden Lion asked suspiciously. Although the flames were very strong, there was no need for them to retreat voluntarily. UB ************, D. That flame is not the candle on the cake. Do you want Lousy's hundreds of boats to burn down? Golden Lion scolded with a smile. Hiss. The captain sucked in a breath. Even the flames that the Golden Lion would take the initiative to retreat. Could it be that that guy is also a powerhouse like the Golden Lion? Boom. With a violent roar, the sound spread throughout the entire sea area. The violent flames, like a fiery red meteor, possessed violent destructive power and carried a monstrous temperature, and slammed straight into Bigimamu and Kaido of the beasts. The surrounding ocean made a creaking sound of evaporation at this temperature, and the sea kings in the depths of the sea were directly scalded to death, and they surfaced, emitting a tempting fish fragrance. The pirates who did not escape to the distance were even more unlucky. Their clothes were completely burned, and their hair was burned to ashes. Waigwo. Thunder ate trigrams. The pupils of Bigimam and Kaido of the beasts shrank sharply. The two did not dare to hesitate. One raised Napoleon with double knives, the other held a mace, and smashed it with violent wind pressure. Use that kind of thing to block my flame. Naz smiled triumphantly, flapping his two flaming wings quickly, and flew back behind Corazon under the illumination of the fiery clouds in the sky. Too much, Natsu, Corazon said with a smile. With such a violent flame, even the cakes on the island were burned. He will be a guest for a while, but there is nothing left to eat. Naz chuckled. The flames all over his body and the lines on his face retracted into his body, transforming into a harmless boy. In the distance, the two attacks of Bigimamu and Kaido of the beasts slammed heavily on the flames rushing from the sky, and the sound like a missile explosion sounded deafening. The violent air wave exploded from the center of contact, and a layer of land was scraped off for 4 weeks. With the pressure, the faces of hundreds of pirates changed drastically, and they screamed and were blown away by the air wave into the sea. Morgan screamed and fluttered his wings, trying his best to fly to the center of the Cake Island. If he was blown into the sea, he would definitely be turned into a boiled bird. Crack, click. The ground under the feet of Bigimam and Kaido of the beasts was stamped with cracks. As the two roared, the power of their left hands erupted, and a purple and blue light pierced through the sea. The sea instantly illuminated a 1,000-meter tsunami, which swept away overwhelmingly, leaving a gap on the island. Boom! The loud sound caused many pirates to ring in their ears instantly. Walking in a daze, they were almost shocked to death on the spot. And the monstrous flames were pierced through a big hole in an instant, and exploded, and the overwhelming flames burned towards the island. The flame has penetrated, but it still can't extinguish the flame. Bigimamu looked at the overwhelming flames. His face was extremely ugly, and he yelled at the thunderclouds in the sky. Zeus, hurry up and make it rain. Advertisement. In an instant, heavy rain fell from the sky, but the overwhelming flames showed no signs of being extinguished. On the contrary, they burned violently, as if they were going to burn the entire island. The corner of Corazon's mouth curled up. Even if the demon's flame was not as strong as Amaterasu's, it couldn't be extinguished by rain. Raging flames will destroy everything. Just when Bigimam looked at the burning cake and almost fell into crying in rage, Corazon smiled lightly and walked forward. The surrounding flames were extinguished the moment Corazon passed by, forming a trail, as if Corazon was the king of flames. Behind Corazon, Ghost Lantern, Full Moon, Kisame and others quickly formed seals with both hands, and shouted. Water-style Great Waterfall. Huang. The 7 great waterfalls left a total of 7 waterfalls from the sky out of thin air and gathered together, comparable to a tsunami of thousands of meters, carrying tens of thousands of tons of power, covering the island overwhelmingly. Bigimamu and Kaido of the beasts changed their expressions drastically, and without the slightest hesitation, they left their subordinates and quickly ran towards the center of the island. If they were covered by the current, they might all die. Now Golden Lion was completely shocked, manipulating the water flow. What kind of power is this? Immediately afterwards, Golden Lion's eyes shone brightly, and he looked excitedly at Ghost Lantern Moon and the others. If he could obtain the ability to control water flow, what if he couldn't get the ancient weapon? When the time comes, the sky will be under his control, and the sea will also be under his control. Who else in the world can be his opponent? Just when the Golden Lion fell into imagination, the overwhelming flames on the island had been extinguished by the roaring ocean current. The pirate showed an expression of the rest of his life. If the overwhelming fire continues to burn, let alone whether Bigimamu will be furious, I am afraid they will have been burned to death before then. Now, none of the pirates present dared to underestimate Corazon, and all showed respectful expressions. This is the case in the sea, the strong are respected. As long as you have strength, you will be respected. If you have no strength, even if you are killed in public, no one will give you a trace of mercy. Ha ha ha, Bigumamu, this subordinate of mine just wanted to learn from each other, but he didn't expect his strength to increase. Don't mind. Corazon laughed twice and walked up the cake path. Bigumamu's face was ugly. What does it mean to learn from each other? The move just now was clearly intended to kill her. If it weren't for the presence of Kaido of the beasts, it would have been difficult for her to block the move just now. It's okay, the visitor is a guest, please, Biggie Mom said with an ugly face. At this time, Big Umamu is not as arrogant as the future, nor does he suffer from eating disorder, and his mood is still stable. He knows that he cannot offend Corazon at this time, so although he is angry in his heart, he dare not show it in person. Corazon hooked his lips, grabbed Boa Hancock's little hand, and led the crowd towards the center of the cake island. The pirates around swallowed dryly, looked at each other, and wanted to leave, but because of Big Um's reputation, they had to walk towards the center of the island in fear. Seeing this, Golden Lion laughed excitedly and flew directly into the island. At this time, a pirate ship was approaching at a distance of 10,000 meters from Cake Island. It was Gold Roger's pirate ship. Chapter 32 The Sky Cracked, Part 1. Advertisement Chapter 32 The Sky Cracked, Part 1. Captain, that kid actually dared to walk in front of you, do you want to teach him a lesson? A captain under the command of Golden Lion looked at Corazon who was walking ahead, and there was a trace of coldness in his eyes, and he stepped forward and asked. Okay, go and teach me a lesson, Golden Lion said lightly, taking a puff of his cigar. How can this subordinate have such strength? The captain said awkwardly. Then shut up, Golden Lion scolded coldly, waved the captain to leave, and then sat down at the head of the tea party next to Corazon. Gee ha 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 ha, boy, is your name Corazon? You really are a hero, how about it? Do you want to conquer this sea with Lousy? Golden Lion asked with a big laugh after sitting down. Suddenly, the scene was silent. The pirates present, the bosses of the underground world, all held their breath, waiting for Corazon's reply. Even Bigimamu and Kaido of the Beasts were no exception. Their eyes were fixed on Corazon, and there was silence for a while. Scary. Plop plop. Even the heartbeats of everyone on the field seemed very noisy at this moment. A historic moment, what a pity, what a pity, Morgans muttered softly, his face was full of remorse, and he wanted to give himself 2 mouths. When he jumped into the sea just now, the camera got wet and broke, otherwise he really wanted to record this historic moment. The demon Corazon possesses the power to control the sea and has subordinates comparable to Bigimamu. His own strength is unfathomable. Golden Lion has the power to control the sky, has more than 400,000 men, and more than 400 pirate ships. The captain of each pirate ship has the strength of Rear Admiral, except for Marine, the most powerful person on the sea. If these two form an alliance, then the sky and the sea will all be under their control, and the situation of the whole world will undergo tremendous changes. Just thinking about Morgans couldn't help gasping, and became even more excited. Without a camera, I simply began to draw a sketch with a pen. This historic moment must be recorded. Seeing this scene, Big Umamu's expression was even uglier. Originally, Golden Lion had no good intentions when he came here this time. Maybe he wanted her to join some kind of pirate alliance. If Corazon and Golden Lion joined forces, based on her previous attitude towards Corazon, maybe they would join forces to deal with her. At that time, Kaido of the Beasts may not be able to help her, just thinking about it makes Bigimom's face ugly. Under everyone's attention, Corazon took a sip of the black tea on the table, shook his head with a smile and said, Golden Lion, this is your era, not mine. Before this era ends, I have no intention of interfering with the sea. Fart. Many pirates breathed a sigh of relief, and then cursed secretly. When they came to the door, they gave Big Umamu a big blow and calmed him down. If they didn't plan to intervene in the sea like this, then what is intervening in the sea? Is it necessary to conquer the sea? Golden Lion's face darkened, and then he laughed loudly, staring at Corazon closely and said, Corazon, are you planning to reject Lousy? Certainly, advertisement. Corazon nodded calmly and stroked Boa Hancock's hair, not paying attention to the threatening gaze of the Golden Lion. The power he possesses is different from that of Pirate World. Excessive use of chakra will affect the cells and stop their growth, as will the power of demons. Corazon doesn't want to fight too much unless he's physically grown enough to have S**X. After all, he is a king. If he can't even satisfy his own woman in the future, he might as well find a crooked neck tree and hang himself. Golden Lion stood up slowly, with a cold look in his eyes, and put his hands on the 2 famous swords of Sakura Ten and Muku at his waist, and a huge aura spread out from his body. It's not conqueror's hockey, it's just the spirit of being a king. Under this momentum, the faces of the pirates around were flushed, and they tightly covered their necks with their hands, feeling that it was difficult to even breathe. HMPH. Sit down for me. The demon behind Corazon, Sarah Liang Yuishan, snorted coldly, and a spell wrapped around Golden Lion's body, causing Golden Lion's movements to stop for a moment. In just a split second, Golden Lion's pupils shrank sharply, and his lion-like eyes looked at Liang Yuishan Sierra. Boom! A heavy momentum broke out, like a tornado storm, and the dark purple conqueror's hockey spread crazily around. The speed was like a typhoon sweeping in. The surrounding ground and the tea party tables were blown away with a bang. The sky darkened, and under the purple conquerors, the sky seemed to turn from day to night, and there was only a purple breath. Plop plop. Unlike the conqueror's hockey released by Doflamingo, the hockey of Golden Lion is like a real lion, with arrogance and courage, far better than Doflamingo. The lethality it caused was hundreds of times stronger than that of Doflamingo's conqueror's hockey. Even though all the big pirates present, they still couldn't resist this conqueror's, who was like the king of beasts. His eyes rolled white and he thumped, plopped, and fainted. Facing the conqueror's hockey head-on, Sarah's expression changed drastically, and she took 2 steps back in pain. Corazon frowned, stopped Liang Yuishan Sierra behind him, and looked at Golden Lion with cold eyes. You are provoking a king. Boom. Before Corazon could set his hands on fire, a stream of red conqueror's haki spread out from Corazon's body. Different from the arrogance of the Golden Lion, the red conqueror's haki seemed to be the king above the top, ignoring everything, with a sense of oppression like the sky, and slammed into the purple conqueror's haki of the Golden Lion. Boom. The moment the two haki touched, there seemed to be a muffled thunder in the sky, and with a click, the clouds in the sky sunken, revealing a piece of darkness. The cloud was shattered. Charlotte Owen struggled against the pressure of Conqueror's haki, looked at the sky in disbelief and said, "No, the sky is cracked," Big Imam said in shock. Chapter 33 Conqueror's Outbreak, 2nd. Advertisement Chapter 33 Conqueror's Outbreak, 2nd. Crack, click. The collision of purple domineering air and red domineering air is like a collision between two worlds. Golden Lion laughed loudly. The Conqueror's haki formed by arrogance and ambition seemed to swallow everything. Corazon's mouth curled up, high above. The Conqueror's haki, who ignored all of this, seemed to suppress everything. Although it was the first time Conquerors broke out, the Conqueror's haki of Clothon did not fall behind the Conqueror's haki of Golden Lion. The red Conqueror's haki covered almost half of Big Imam Cake Island, and the whole island turned into a purple and red world. As it continued to spread, the purple Conqueror's haki and the red Conqueror's haki spread to the surface of the sea, and a huge sea king surfaced, almost covering the entire sea area. Gold Roger's pirate ship, which was approaching at high speed on the sea, was instantly shrouded in the center of the confrontation between purple domineering and red domineering. The pirate ship, tens of meters long, made a creaking sound. It seemed that even the ship couldn't bear the monstrous Conqueror's haki. Gold Roger in the cabin woke up instantly and looked at this scene in shock. The purple Conqueror's haki is full of ambition and pride, and he knows it's the Golden Lion's. But, whose red Conqueror's haki, full of aloofness and indifference to everything, really belongs to? He could feel the aloofness in the red Conqueror's haki, ignoring all living beings, like a god. Compared with this courage, Golden Lion's ambition and arrogance are like a ship adrift on the sea. Although it is safe for a short time, it may be destroyed at any time. Golden Lion's haki is inherently weaker than the red Conqueror's haki, and can only be used with the superb Conqueror's haki, so that it is not weaker than the red Conqueror's haki, but the vigor can be compared immediately. Following the collision, the eyes of the people around them turned white, and they fainted with a plop. There were almost tens of thousands of people who fainted. How is it possible? I'm a big pirate with a bounty of over 200 million. A black-haired pirate who looked like a big wild boar shouted in disbelief. In the next moment, the pirate rolled his eyes and fell to the ground with a plop. Such scenes were repeated in Cake Island. Charlotte Owen, Charlotte Dafu, Charlotte Cracker, Charlotte Mondel. Even the members of the Big Mom Pirates, who had experienced the outbreak of Conqueror's haki, all changed their faces and fainted at this moment. Doflamingo, Boa Hancock, can only rely on their own qualifications to support themselves, and those who do not have the qualifications of kings do not even have the strength to resist. Boom. With a burst, 3 thunderous sounds resounded through the sea area, sweeping across the entire Cake Island in an instant. A red Conqueror's haki, a blue Conqueror's haki, and a white Conqueror's haki rushed in violently as if declaring their sovereignty, and the sound like thunder shook the audience instantly. Boom. Advertisement. Boom. Boom. 3 muffled thunders sounded continuously, and the Conqueror's haki that suddenly appeared violently attacked Corazon's red Conqueror's haki and Golden Lion's purple Conqueror's haki, forcibly hitting a floor in the sea area. Roger, Rayleigh, Bullet. Gee ha 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 ha, I didn't expect them to come here too, but they are too weak to grab Lousy's territory. Golden Lion was stunned for a moment, then laughed excitedly. The purple Conqueror's haki instantly charged towards the sudden 3 haki, and in an instant, the sea area covered by the 5 Conqueror's haki expanded 10 times. The corner of Corazon's mouth curled up, and he stood up from the chair, looking proudly at the 4 Conqueror's haki. The frog in the well of the pirate world also wants to compete with the bright moon. Boom. In an instant, the red Conqueror's haki confronted the 4 Conqueror's haki without showing any sign of weakness, as if taking a grade tonic. Vision, boldness, and arrogance are all integrated into it, and the boldness overlooking the world makes Corazon's red Conqueror's haki stronger. At this moment, Big Imamu and Kaido of the Beasts roared, and 2 Conqueror's haki rushed into the battlefield in an instant. With Cake Island as the center, the Conqueror's haki that spread to the main sea area spread madly around. The greedy Conqueror's haki, the destructive Conqueror's haki, collided with it crazily, and the sound of thunder became more piercing during the constant collision. 7 to Conqueror's haki, the resulting fluctuating colors covered the entire sky, the earth, and the ocean made loud noises, and a large piece of sea cracked wildly, blasting hundreds of meters of waves out of thin air. The violent Conqueror's haki's battlefield darkened the entire sky, and violent waves swept across Cake Island. The buildings on the entire island were destroyed in an instant, thousands of pirates were blown into the sea, and cracks like abysses appeared on the ground, swallowing all the people on it. In just a short moment, the originally bustling Cake Island has become ruins at this time, and only a piece of wasteland can be seen, desolate, wasteland, and rubble flying everywhere, as if the end of the world is approaching. However, at this moment, no one can pay attention to this point, and they all allow their own courage to explode, and no one will be outdone. On a warship coming from a distance, Garp watched this scene in shock. The Conqueror's collision, the sky shattered, the sea churned, and the ground collapsed. This scene almost collapsed the world view. 7 Conqueror's haki, have the powerhouses of the entire sea gathered here? At this moment, with two childish roars, Doflamingo Boa Hancock's Conqueror's Haki was attracted, and crashed violently into this ruined battlefield. At the same time, the demon of the Gate of Hell, the violent dark mantra formed a black storm, mixed with the flames of Natsu, followed closely behind Corazon's Conqueror's Haki. Nine Paths Conqueror's Haki. Garp in the distance widened his eyes again in shock. Nine Conqueror's Haki. This fluctuation almost gave Garp a sense of sight in the face of the catastrophe. After Doflamingo and Boa Hancock's Conqueror's Haki joined, Corazon's Conqueror's Haki expanded again, ignoring other Six Paths Conqueror's Haki, and wanted to fight against this Six Paths Conqueror's Haki with its own strength. Chapter 34 Cake Island Forming Ruins, Third Update, Advertisement. Chapter 34 Cake Island Forming Ruins, Third Update. Hiss. Roger's Conqueror's Haki, Golden Lion's Conqueror's Haki, and the two bastards Rayleigh and Bullet. Besides that, it should be Biggie Mom and Kaido of the Beasts, who are the other three Conqueror's Haki. Especially that Red Conqueror's Haki is going to fight against 6 monsters by himself. When did such a strong man appear on the sea? Realizing that Corazon's Conqueror's Haki was going to fight against 6 Conqueror's Haki, Garp on the sea couldn't help but gasp. He came here this time just looking for Roger, but unexpectedly saw such a scene. After only hesitating for a moment, Garp quickly sent a message to Kong, telling Kong about the situation here. This kind of situation is no longer just for fun, maybe something big will happen. After hearing the news here, Kong only felt a chill all over his body. Roger Golden Lion, Bigumum, Kaido of the Beasts, and a mysterious force, the owner of 9 Conqueror's Haki. Is this going to turn the world upside down? The owners of 9 Conqueror's Haki, plus 4 powerful forces, might be even bigger than their marine power. Garp, under the condition of ensuring your own safety, try to find out the news for me there, and I will send someone there. Hearing that the 9 Conqueror's Haki owners gathered together, even in Kong's city, his expression changed greatly and he became flustered. New. Garp hung up the phone with a snap, looked at the scene of destruction, took a deep breath, jumped off the marine warship, and swam quickly to Cake Island. At this time, Cake Island is experiencing destruction as if it were destroyed. The Red Conqueror's Haki of Corazon collided with the Haki of Golden Lion Roger and others. Violent thundercracks kept ringing on the island, and every confrontation caused the ground to shatter. Even in the trench below 10,000 meters, huge cracks cracked open, and the violent tsunami swept thousands of meters, constantly beating Cake Island, as if this small island is about to sink into the sea. Who owns this Red Conqueror's Haki? Ha ha ha, I really want to make friends. Roger laughed out loud on the pirate ship. Such a powerful spirit, who is he? Rayleigh frowned and wondered. Logically speaking, a strong man with such a powerful Conqueror's Haki should not be actively unknown in the sea. Why is this the first time he has seen it? Roger, the owner of the Conqueror's Haki might be stronger than you, Bullet shouted excitedly. Conqueror's Haki, the qualifications of being a king, the stronger the courage, the stronger the conquerors, such as the ambition of the Golden Lion, Roger's dream, these are integrated into the conquerors, making them form a Conqueror's Haki beyond ordinary people. And this Red Conqueror's Haki, the spirit contained in it, seems to be a god high above, ignoring their struggle. The spirit is not on the same level at all. The reason why they are on par with them is only because this Conqueror's Haki is still a little immature and has not been fully stimulated. Otherwise, Roger's Conqueror's Haki alone may not be able to beat it. Advertisement, ha 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 ha, I will not weaken that unknown strong man. Roger laughed loudly and urged the Conqueror's Haki. In an instant, 2 hostile Conqueror's Haki exploded and collided with each other. And Golden Lion did not show any weakness. Under the 3 Conqueror's Haki competition, even Rayleigh and Bullet's Conqueror's Haki were excluded and could not get in. How can someone who has never looked up at the starry sky know how big this world is? The corner of Corazon's mouth curled up, and the Red Conqueror's Haki faintly gained the upper hand under the excitement. Crack, click. With the Conqueror's Haki of the 3 pushed to the extreme, Rayleigh, Bullet, Biggie Mom, Kaido of the Beasts, Doflamingo, and Boa Hancock's Conqueror's Haki were directly hit back. In the sky, only 3 colors of light can be seen competing with each other. With the passage of time, Kaido of the Beasts and others were shocked to find that the 3 strands of Conqueror's Haki actually formed a space of mixed colors, and the violent power was extremely unstable, as if it might explode at any time. Sure enough, when the Conqueror's Haki of the 3 erupted, a thunder exploded in the sky, and the violent airwaves instantly made the sea choppy, and the violent waves slapped away towards the surroundings. With Cake Island as the center, the violent waves formed a circle and smashed across the sky. Before the sad Garp could swim ashore, he was directly hit into the sea by the waves, and he was dizzy for a long time. At this time on Cake Island, there are as many as hundreds of thousands of pirates, but none of them can be seen at this moment. When Golden Lion found out about this scene, his face turned pale and he ran to the coast in a hurry, using his ability to rescue his men. Corazon shook his head dumbfounded. Golden Lion is really easy to fall into a state, he doesn't even know that his subordinates are gone. Casually ordered Pluton Mardo to rescue the pirates who fell into the sea. After tens of thousands of pirates were rescued ashore, Golden Lion wiped the cold sweat off his brow and glanced at Corazon gratefully. These tens of thousands of pirates are all his property. If all of them are lost in a single sparring, Golden Lion will really go crazy. Ha ha ha, old lion, which strong man beat you like this? A hearty laugh sounded, and immediately after, Gold Roger's ship stopped on the shore, and Roger Rayleigh Bullet and others also jumped ashore. Roger, I didn't expect you to dare to come here. Golden Lion looked at Roger with excitement in his eyes, but he took another look at his fainted subordinate, and had no choice but to let go of the idea of fighting at this time. At the same time, Roger glanced around the island and immediately fixed his eyes on Corazon. While the entire island was in ruins, Corazon's surroundings turned out to be clean and tidy, not even the tables and chairs were destroyed. Ha 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 ha, young man, could it be that you played Conqueror's hockey just now? Roger laughed and walked towards Corazon. Chapter 35. What does the scene look like to you? Fourth more. Advertisement. Chapter 35. What does the scene look like to you? Fourth more. Gold Roger. The corner of Corazon's mouth curled up, and he sized up the man in front of him. Wearing a standard pirate costume, with a straw hat on his head, a bushy beard, and a pair of big eyes that are piercing, you can feel the hockey of this man just by looking at him. Young man, you were really strong Conqueror's hockey just now. What's your name? Roger asked boldly. Corazon, please teach me more. Corazon smiled and held out his hand, squeezing Roger's hand tightly. At the same time, the waking pirate's jaw dropped in shock. Golden Lion, Roger, these two enemies, both top powers in the sea, can be safely on the same island. Golden Lion was also feeling distressed. If his men were all in their heyday, he would have to keep Roger here. After all, he didn't see Jabba and Kazuki Odin on Roger's boat, and even Roger's left and right hands were gone. This is the best opportunity, but just thinking about Golden Lion makes him speechless. Puff. Just when Golden Lion was so depressed that it exploded, a figure emerged from the cake falling on the sea, spat out a big mouthful of seawater viciously, wiped the seawater on his head, and then looked at the situation on the island. Quiet. Silence. The pirates on the island stared blankly at Garp in the marine uniform, and Morgans rubbed his eyes, wondering if he was blind. The island where 4 big New World pirates gather, unexpectedly ran up a marine. Card. Garp. Roger almost popped his eyes out, looking at Garp in shock. The old B************ D has chased him all this way? Garp. I'm sorry, I still have a grandson waiting for me to educate, so I'm leaving. The corner of Garp's mouth twitched, and he turned around to leave. Just now a big wave hit him, knocked him 100 meters under the sea, and climbed up in a daze. He didn't expect to break into the pirate's stronghold. Although Garp is confident in his own strength, the 4 top pirates. MMP. Forget it. Wait, Garp? Golden Lion pulled out his long knife in an instant, and looked at Garp with a sneer. This is really the prey that came at his door. How could he let go of this old B******** D who often came to spoil his good things? Garp. Seeing this, Roger, who was an old friend of Garp, naturally wouldn't sit idly by. He snorted coldly and stood in front of Garp first, looking at Golden Lion without fear. Roger. Advertisement. Garp looked at Roger with a moved face. Sure enough, at this time, he had to be enough friends. Garp. Roger and Garp showed sympathy and a sense of heroism. Hurry up, I'll block you here. Roger pulled out the western sword at his waist and said firmly. Roger. Garp gave Roger a moved look, then turned to leave. Corazon's eyelids twitched as he watched from the sidelines, and his teeth hurt a little. Although this was a scene of heroes cherishing each other, why did he feel something unusual from it? Corazon's eyelids twitched when he thought of the doujinshi created by someone in his previous life. MD, these two are not pigeons, are they? Shaking his head slightly, Corazon looked at Bigumam and said. Bigumamu, let's come to your tea party. Don't we even have black tea, not to mention cakes? This is not the way of hospitality. Bigumamu's face turned black. The whole cake island was in ruins. Where could she get black tea for TM? Ha 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 ha, Corazon, I have wine here. Do you want to drink it? Roger laughed and asked Rayleigh to take out 3 large tanks of sake from the cabin. Corazon was overjoyed. Although alcohol affects the growth of the body, the sake is fine, and it hasn't reached 20 degrees. Drink. Corazon smiled and clapped his hands. In an instant, Pluton Mardo activated the thorns spell, and the countless thorns entangled, forming a table of thousands of meters. The dark black table with barbs looked hideous and hockey. After Roger saw it, his pupils shrank slightly, and then he patted Corazon on the shoulder boldly, and said with a smile. Corazon, how about it? Do you want to take an adventure with me? The wine on the sea is even more delicious. Golden Lion was immediately anxious when he heard that. Roger's personality is stronger than him. He knows this. If Corazon and Roger join forces, I am afraid that the position of the number 1 force in the sea will be changed. And Garp is not cared about right now. Quickly he ordered his men to take out all kinds of wine and supplies from the ship. Roger, Lousy has a collection of all the fine wines in the sea. You don't need to brag. If Corazon wants to join forces, they will definitely choose Lousy. Golden Lion looked at the materials brought by his men and said proudly. Now 70% of New World's territory belongs to him. As long as Corazon wants to conquer the world, joining forces with him is the best choice. Conquest and ambition are useless to me. Men only yearn for freedom and adventure, Roger said, not to be outdone. Corazon curled his lips as he watched, poured out the wine and drank it on his own. Roger and Golden Lion snorted coldly at each other, turned their heads to look at Corazon, intending to see his thoughts. The latter said lightly. The power of the two of you is still too weak in my eyes. It is impossible for me to join you. Give up your heart. The eyes of Golden Lion and Roger froze for a moment. Their power was too weak. What a joke. In the whole sea, except for Marine, they were the 2 strongest. Even Whitebeard would have to retreat. However, such a powerful force is actually weak in the eyes of this young man. Gee ha 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 ha. Lousy's power is too weak. Golden Lion laughed, fixed his eyes on Corazon, and said excitedly, Corazon, I'm really curious about what kind of scene you have seen. As the saying goes, people who set their eyes on the sky will not care about a wisp of yellow sand on the ground. Corazon was so bold, what he saw really made the Golden Lion curious. Chapter 36. I Want Charlotte Smoothie, 5th, Advertisement. Chapter 36. I Want Charlotte Smoothie, 5th, what did I see? Corazon hooked his mouth, leaned back slightly, pointed to the sky and said, thousands of stars, boundless earth, these are all in the pupils of my eyes. There is still a word that has not been said, that is, the heavens and the world. How can Corazon, who already knows the existence of the heavens and worlds, be limited to a small pirate world? This is also the essential difference between him and Roger Golden Lion and others. Golden Lion wants to occupy the entire pirate world. Roger wants to take risks freely on the sea, and his thoughts are only limited in this world. Boundless land? Gee ha 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 ha, it's a pity that my goal is only this piece of sea. Golden Lion laughed loudly. It's not like he hasn't been to the stars. It's a barren place, not half as good as Pirate World. Compared with the so-called infinite land, Pirate World still has interests worthy of conquest. Seeing Golden Lion's expression, Corazon knew he had misunderstood, but he didn't bother to explain to him. Soon, with all kinds of supplies brought in, there was a clamor on the Cake Island, and tens of thousands of pirates laughed and drank wine. Even Golden Lion and Roger let go of their prejudice against each other at this time. This is also because both of them have fear in their hearts and dare not fight at this time. After all, Corazon and the others are still on the sidelines. If both sides suffer from the battle at this time, it is very likely that someone will take advantage of it. Therefore, the pirate event, which was almost impossible to happen, started smoothly. Even Garp failed to make it, and was asked by Roger to stay and drink together. Garp, Kizaru has arrived. Where are you? Garp quietly picked up the phone bug, and when he heard Kong's voice inside, Garp's face was a little embarrassed. Marshal Sora, I'm on the island, why don't you let Kizaru come up? Garp hesitated and said. After Kong heard this, he was overjoyed. He thought it was because of the Conqueror's hockey that both sides were heard after the fight, and Garp was picking up a bargain. Without hesitation, he said excitedly. Okay, I'll let Kizaru go over to support, don't let those pirates escape, come back and I will give you a big credit. Forehead, Garp looked embarrassed, and before he could say anything, Kong hung up the phone excitedly. As expected of Garp, although you are usually unreliable in handling things, you are better than Sengoku in major matters, Kong exclaimed excitedly. Golden Lion, Roger, Bigimamu, Kaido of the Beasts, these powerhouses all suffered losses. At this time, with Garp's combat power, at least 2 of them can be captured, which is simply a big profit. That be asterisk 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 D Garp, can he really catch them? Sengoku rubbed his chin from the side, with some doubts in his eyes. As an old gay friend for many years, Garp can tell what Garp is thinking when he says a word, so after hearing Garp's words, he always feels something is wrong. Sengoku, don't be jealous, Garp is credited with catching those pirates, you should learn from him, Kong yelled. Sengoku's face turned dark, and 100,000 muddy horses galloped past in his heart. Advertisement the B asterisk 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 D who scolded Garp before the relationship had nothing to do is not you. At the same time, a golden light flashed across the sea, revealing the figure of Kizaru, looking at the Cake Island with great interest. Mr. Garp is really amazing, he managed to kill so many big pirates by himself, well, let me join in the fun. After the words fell, Kizaru's figure turned into a ray of light, bursting out at a speed faster than a laser, and instantly came to the Cake Island. Garp. Mr. Sir. Kizaru, who had just transformed into a human form, was instantly dumbfounded. He looked at the island with a dazed face, and his eyes almost popped out. Demon Corazon, Golden Lion, Roger, Bigumum, Kaido of the Beasts. Mr. Garp. I saw Kizaru looking at Garp's figure, almost peeing his pants. You're actually drinking with Roger Golden Lion Corazon and the others. Is this betraying the enemy? You brought me here because you were afraid of my flashing ability, so you want to kill me first? In an instant, Kizaru's thoughts were full of thoughts, and he didn't even dare to take a breath. It turned into a ray of light, and he was about to escape to the outside of the island. Kizaru. Corazon saw Kizaru in the sky, and immediately hooked the corner of his mouth, and stretched out his palm. Fiery red lines spread on the palm, and the violent flame rushed several kilometers in an instant, almost burning half of the sky. The flame is stronger than last time. Kizaru's face was bitter, and he wanted to try to break through the flames, but when he saw the gaze from below, he shuddered all over, and obediently landed down. The leaders of the 2 top forces of Golden Lion Roger were staring at him. No matter how confident Kizaru was, he did not dare to act presumptuously in front of them. Corazon looked familiar, laughed and put his arms around Kizaru's shoulders. Good brother, I didn't expect you to come to see me at this time. I'm so touched. Come and have a drink. Kizaru. At this time, Kizaru was in so much pain that he was about to cry. What a brother, he never dreamed of seeing Corazon. Okay, as long as he sees this little B asterisk 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 D, nothing good will happen. It's a pity that Kizaru didn't dare to be presumptuous in this wolf's den at this time, so he smiled wryly and drank a cup. Corazon hooked his lips, put his arm around Kizaru's shoulders, and smiled at Morgans. Morgans, let's meet, this is my brother Peluzolino. Morgans did not need Corazon to say that he was already excited to take pictures. Crack, click. Sensing the sound of the shutter, Kizaru almost burst into tears. If this photo gets out, Kong will be able to kill him if it spreads in the sea that the pirates are in collusion with Marine. After arguing with Kizaru for a while, the corners of Corazon's mouth curled up, and he looked at Bigimamu with a gloomy face, and said with a smile, Bigimamu, in fact, I have one more thing to do besides attending your tea party this time. What's the matter? Bigimam asked with an ugly face. It won't be a good mood no matter whose house is destroyed, let alone Bigimamu's beloved cake is upside down. I want your daughter, Charlotte Smoothie. Chapter 37 can't tell the difference between big and small kings now, first update. Advertisement Chapter 37 still can't tell the difference between big and small kings, first update. Charlotte Smoothie. Hearing his name suddenly, Smoothie, who was in charge of making the juice, was not only stunned. He stood there blankly with his big eyes wide open, a little at a loss. Why? Did Smoothie offend you? He actually asked you to come here not so far away, Biggie Mom asked with an ugly face. At this time, the Big Mom pirates only had one Big Mom in Katakuri as the strong ones, and Owen Simuji and others have not yet grown up, but they have also shown considerable potential, not a last resort under such circumstances, it is impossible for Biggie Mom to abandon them. No, you got it wrong, I like him very much, and I want her to be my woman. The corner of Corazon's mouth curled up, looking at Charlotte Smoothie with interest. Although Smoothie's age is almost the same as Corazon's, it may be due to his own blood. A pair of big white legs are more than 1.5 meters tall, which makes people feel excited. Based on the idea that Lolita should be trained as soon as possible, Corazon decided to bring this beauty into the harem. What? What? Charlotte Smoothie's eyes widened all of a sudden, and she looked at Corazon in disbelief, making her the boy's woman? Suddenly, Smoothie's face turned red, and the roots of his ears turned pink. He buried his head in his 1.5-meter-long legs in shame, but felt a little happy in his heart. The children of Big Mom in the Big Mom pirate group all looked strange. Even she was ridiculed a lot because of her straight long legs. However, today, a strong man with more power than her mother unexpectedly said publicly that he likes her. I glanced at Corazon quietly again, although she is small, she is really handsome. Well, what am I thinking? Smoothie blushed and shook her head vigorously. After hearing Corazon's words, Biggie Mom's angry face suddenly became happy, and he looked at Corazon cheerfully. Corazon, are you going to marry me? Corazon, who was comforting Boa Hancock, twitched his lips when he heard it and said with a chuckle. I don't have that interest, I just simply like your daughter. Are you trying to rob someone? Bigimamu's happy face suddenly darkened again, which made Corazon amazed. This superb face-changing technology is beyond the reach of ordinary people. That's right, I will decide whether you agree or not today. Corazon's tone was flat, but revealed a firmness. Corazon doesn't want to give up the 3-meter long-legged beauty in the future to others. The golden lion on the side laughed loudly after seeing it, pulled out the 2 long knives from his waist, slapped them on the table and said, Corazon, I have long disliked this woman, or how about we join hands to eat up her influence? Golden Lion came here this time for the power of Bigimamu, and now seeing that Corazon and Bigimamu are not dealing with each other, they are even more overjoyed. Advertisement. You two nasty bastards. Bignum roared angrily, and when the berserk conquerors were about to spread out, Golden Lion Corazon and others looked over and forcefully pushed back Bignum's conqueror's haki. Boom. Bigimamu's face turned pale, and he took 2 steps back. Seeing Bigimamu's eyes asking for help, Roger could only look aside as if he didn't see it. Now that Golden Lion's subordinates have almost recovered, plus Corazon, Roger is not willing to confront these 2 monsters for the sake of Bigumum. Mom, for the Big Mom pirates, I am willing to follow Corazon. When Bigum's face was ugly, Smoothie said weakly from the side. Seeing this, Bigumamu turned dark and snorted coldly, regardless of whether this was her island or not, turned around and walked towards the coast. Corazon was overjoyed and hugged Smoothie, but unfortunately, given his height, he could only hug those long white legs. MD, you must drink milk when you go back. After realizing his height, Corazon thought indignantly. Then you too, I also bid farewell. The purpose of Corazon has been achieved this time, there is no need to stay here any longer. After greeting Roger Golden Lion, he directly returned to the Devil's ship with the 2 girls in his arms. Golden Lion and Roger looked at each other and strode towards the side of the island. Kizaru didn't dare to stop at all, grabbed Garp and shot towards the warship in the distance quickly, his face was full of bitterness. After returning, Kong might not teach him a lesson, it was really unlucky. Just the second day after Corazon returned to North Blue, he was attracted by the profuse newspapers. Marine Rear Admiral Kizaru is the undercover agent of the pirates, and betrayed Vice Admiral Garp. The Roger pirates attacked the Bigimamu pirate ship, and I don't know what they robbed. The Golden Lion pirates attacked the Bignum pirates, and Bignum was seriously injured. The demon Corazon possesses super powerful conqueror's haki, and its power is the overlord of the sea. A total of 4 newspapers recorded 4 completely different pieces of information. After reading it carefully, Corazon silently mourned for Kizaru, you are too unlucky. Then Corazon looked at the other 3 newspapers. Roger attacked the Bignum pirates probably for that signpost, and Golden Lion attacked the Bignum pirates probably also to subdue them. What a disaster. Putting the newspaper aside, the corners of Corazon's mouth curled up. Now that Roger has already grabbed the road sign, the future battle may not be too far away. When the time comes, who will be the king, Golden Lion or Roger? Chapter 38 8-Wall Naval Battle begins, second change. Advertisement Chapter 38 8-Wall Naval Battle begins, second change. Time flies. 3 years have passed, Your Majesty. There's news from Morgan's, and it is said that the matter is serious. Holding a newspaper in his hand, Ghost Lantern Full Moon walked in with a slight frown. He was a little surprised by the importance of this information. What's up? Sitting on the sofa, a 1.5-meter tall blonde boy raised his eyebrows and reached out to take the newspaper. Roger has mastered the ancient weapon, the Golden Lion is chasing after him, and the biggest battle for hegemony in the history of pirates is about to begin. Ancient weapon. Roger is here. With an excited smile on the corner of Corazon's mouth, he slowly put the newspaper aside. Golden Lion is already the strongest force in this sea, except Marine, but it is still somewhat powerless to fight against Marine. At this time, the news that Roger has mastered the ancient weapon suddenly spread. Although it is unknown who spread the news, it must have been to bring these two forces into contact. Fun and interesting. Picking up the purple feather coat, he ordered. Follow me to New World, this grand event, I don't want to let it go. Yes. Ghost Lantern Full Moon responded respectfully. Afterwards, the demon ship, which had not been moved for 3 years, slowly lifted off and flew towards New World at extreme speed. And Naval Headquarters Marine, after getting the news, led by Sengoku Garp, with Zephyr as a backup, also surrounded New World. At this time, on the calm sea, Golden Lion's fleet has surrounded Gold Roger's pirate ship. Gee ha 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 ha, Roger, join hands with me, how about the ancient weapon you master and the troops I master, and rule the sea together? Golden Lion stood on the leading pirate ship and laughed. At this time, Golden Lion's 400 pirate ships have all been distributed in this sea area, with a full force of 400,000, which is comparable to the number of people in a small country. Looking at the buggy on Roger's ship, snot and tears came down all at once. Captain, surrender, how can we be the opponents of these monsters? Buggy the Clown shouted with snot and tears in fright. There were less than 100 people on board, and they were crushed to death by a force of more than 400,000 troops. Ha ha ha, have you ever seen Roger change his decision? Pluton Rayleigh laughed twice and pulled a long knife from his waist. Golden Lion, it is impossible for me to join forces with you, Roger shouted firmly. Advertisement: the battle was about to break out. Golden Lion laughed and waved his hand, and the overwhelming pirates approached. The right time and place are all under his control. Golden Lion can't imagine the reason for his failure, but at this moment, a black demon ship slowly approached in the sky. Golden Lion's pupils shrank, and then found that the ship was flying in the sky, and there was no plan to come down, so I was relieved. That Corazon, say that this is not his era. After today's battle, it will be Lousie's era, Golden Lion thought proudly. At that time, with a full 400,000 troops, plus ancient weapon, even the world government and marine will not be opponents. Your Majesty, should we help Roger? Guidong Manue hesitated and said. In this case, it would be pretty bad for the Golden Lion to beat Roger. Don't worry, this war has just begun. Maybe the person we're going to help is the Golden Lion. Corazon said lightly, with the corners of his mouth curled up. Roger, darling of the sea, why did you change the celestial phenomena? Soon, with the continuous fighting, many members of the Roger pirates were killed on the spot, and even the battle between Roger and Golden Lion also fell into a disadvantage. And just when the Roger pirates were in danger, the wind direction changed, and the sea that was originally calm suddenly turned into a gust of wind. The sky was gloomy, dark clouds gathered over the ocean, thunder thundered above, and the wind was strong. This, Ghost Lantern Full Moon, Kisame, Zai Bujan and others shrank their pupils, looking at this suddenly changing sky in shock. They are all ninjas who grew up by the sea, and they know the weather very well. The sudden strong wind and changing dark clouds clearly represent the prelude to the approaching storm. Coming. Corazon focused his gaze on the rough sea, and saw that the black water and seawater gathered together to form a huge wave, roaring and slapping towards the Golden Lion's pirate ship. Thousand Slice Valley. Golden Lion's pupils shrank, and holding two famous knives in his hand, he cut out two sword blades in an instant, cutting off the tsunami. How could there be such a big wave suddenly? Could it be that Roger is favored by the sea like this? Golden Lion roared in disbelief. The sea was clearly calm before. Why did such a violent wave break out in just a few hours? It's not over, Golden Lion. Corazon's face was calm, and two flame-shaped wings emerged out of thin air behind him, and the scorching flames burned instantly. In the next moment, the violent waves rolled over, forming a tsunami that covered the sky and covered the earth, with a distance of more than 1,000 meters, and slammed past with a bang. The 1,000-meter tsunami was almost as high as the Devil's ship. Just as he was about to hit the Devil's ship, Corazon stretched out his palm, and the violent flames instantly vaporized a big hole from the slapping tsunami. In this sea, the tsunami erupting will be even more terrifying than this, Golden Lion. Your luck is really bad. Chapter 39. The Golden Lion's Request for Help, Third Update. Advertisement Chapter 39. The Golden Lion's Request for Help, Third Update. Violent waves are surging in the sea. Each wave is at least 1,000 meters high, and there are not a few waves with a height of 3,000 meters. As these tsunamis continue to roar, Corazon even feels that just riding these waves is enough to reach the so-called Sky Island. Go and help Golden Lion, so that he won't suffer too much in the waves, Corazon said with a smile. Ghost Lantern Full Moon's expression was stunned. Logically speaking, aren't these strong men all enemies of Corazon? Why go to save them now? Doflamingo, Poya Hancock and others on the side were also a little puzzled, and all looked at Corazon. Ha ha ha, it would be a pity if a hero like Golden Lion failed by chance. This is just an order from the same man. Go. Corazon said with a smile. Facing the Golden Lion in its heyday, even Natsu Dragneel is no match, but their enemy is not the Golden Lion, but the turbulent waves. As long as the threat of the waves is reduced a little, Golden Lion's ability is enough to protect himself, but what happens next is none of his business. Yes. Ghost Lantern Man Yu and the others responded respectfully, and quickly jumped off the devil ship. Destroy Demon Magic Absolute Zero. Yin, who possessed the Ice Destroyer Devil art, instantly froze several thousand-meter-long ocean waves around him, and the purple ice instantly made the sea clean, spreading to the surroundings with a click. The Devil's Roar. Natsu roared, and the violent flames on his body instantly turned dozens of surrounding waves into smoke, which evaporated into the sky. Earth-style Earth Flow Wall, Water-style Big Explosion Water Shockwave. Lightning-style Walk. The destruction brought about by more than 10 powerful men instantly calmed the sea surface, but this was only for a moment. The more violent waves were churning in the bottom of the sea, and it would not take long to destroy everything. Golden Lion, how about this gift from me? Corazon asked with a big laugh. Golden Lion glanced gratefully, and then activated his ability to quickly fly hundreds of ships around into the sky, and quickly fled to the distance before the 1,000-meter high waves came over. Corazon, are you teaming up with the Golden Lion? Roger asked angrily. Advertisement. The faces of Rayleigh Bullet and others were also very ugly. Originally, Golden Lion alone gave them enough pressure, but now they add a Corazon. If these two powerhouses join forces to deal with them, even 10 lives won't be enough. No, the Golden Lion is not qualified to form an alliance with me. It's just that it would be too unreasonable for a strong man like this to be defeated by you because of the waves, Corazon said playfully. He could feel that the unusualness of this wave was caused by something, but he didn't know exactly what it was. Hateful, Roger roared, and quickly urged the boat to chase after him. He didn't dare to let the Golden Lion escape, otherwise the Golden Lion in its heyday was the Admiral of the Sea, and he couldn't fight against it. Interesting. Corazon playfully pushed the demon ship and followed Roger closely. He wanted to see how Roger would defeat the Golden Lion fleet. Lion Majesty. Govern Place Earth coiling. The Golden Lion in front suddenly roared, and the appearance of a water lion quickly appeared on the fluctuating water surface, roaring and biting the marine warship in front. Marine. What's going on? Could it be that Roger and Marine have teamed up to fight against the Golden Lion? Corazon's eyes narrowed and he looked there. Sengoku Admiral took the lead, followed by Garp, and more than 50 marine warships stood in front of Golden Lion. Ironbone Meteor. Garp stood on the boat and roared, grabbed a cannonball, and smashed it like a meteorite, instantly smashing the water lion created by Golden Lion into water spots all over the sky. Captain, we have more than 200 ships that have not escaped, and the rest of the ships are also dilapidated. If we continue to stay here, they will all be broken. Just when Golden Lion was in the middle of a battle, suddenly a pirate captain ran over anxiously and said, "Damn it, did Marine intend to bury me here?" Golden Lion cursed secretly. As soon as he escaped from the overwhelming waves, he ran into Marine's army head-on, followed by Roger. It can be said that there are wolves before and tigers behind. With the state of his pirate fleet, even if he wins, it will be a miserable victory. Roger. Gritting his teeth, Golden Lion glanced back and shouted, "If the ship is broken, board Marine's ship, kill them, and grab the ship, or else we will die." It's so funny, Marine, Roger, will join forces to deal with the Golden Lion. Corazon looked at the scene below and almost burst out laughing. This group of troops should be the most elite group of troops in Marine. Regardless of whether they win or lose, the strength of these three forces will at least be greatly reduced. It's a big deal to come here, Corazon, help me. As long as you help me block the Roger pirates, I'll give you 5 billion Baileys and 8 devil fruit. Golden Lion shouted from below. Facing the Marine and Roger pirates, the Golden Lion pirates obviously lacked high-end combat effectiveness, so they had to turn to Corazon in the sky for help. Chapter 40. Battle against the Roger Pirates, Part 1. Advertisement. Chapter 40. Battle against the Roger Pirates, Part 1. Release the mission. The King's Gift. Facing the Overlord request for help, as a king, you must be tolerant and lend a helping hand to him. Mission reward. A-level forces, not bad, A-level forces. The corner of Corazon's mouth twitched slightly. Originally, he didn't plan to fight Roger's pirates, but now it's different, A-level forces, that's enough temptation for him to take a risk. I just don't know who this force is. After a little thought in his mind, Corazon's eyes showed excitement. He turned over and jumped down, standing on the sea. The hands are wrapped in flames, and there is a piece of flame wings like the wings of a giant dragon on the back. The endless flames burned blazingly on the sea surface, forming a wall of flames. At the same time, while the flames were blazing, Corazon's horns melted into the water, controlled the water flow, and formed a tsunami-like wall of sea current, blocking Roger's pirate ship. Corazon, are you going to help the Golden Lion? Roger pointed the western sword at Corazon, and a violent haki spread out from his body. What a powerful haki, even the arm color is so amazing. Ghost Lantern Full Moon said in shock. He has also learned armament haki for such a long time, but it is only a beginner. Compared with it, Roger's armament haki has reached its peak. Up. The corner of Corazon's mouth curled up, and he laughed loudly. Under the control of endless flames and water flow, he smashed towards the ship of Roger pirates overwhelmingly. Shua. Rayleigh's figure shot out suddenly, holding a long knife in his hand, and slashed at Corazon fiercely. However, at this moment, countless thorns grew out of thin air on the sea surface, and under the spread of various barbs, they tightly hooked on Corazon. Pluton Rayleigh's sword. Your name is Pluton, and I am also Pluton. Let's see who is qualified to be called this name. Pluton Mardo stopped Rayleigh and instantly turned into a ferocious dark demon, flapping his wings, standing in midair and looked at Rayleigh with a sneer. Drink. Next to Roger, a burly man in a black suit let out a roar, his ghostly aura merged with armament hockey, and he punched Corazon. Advertisement. Bullet. The clown buggy on the boat was so scared that tears flowed down his face, his eyes widened suddenly in surprise. Bullet actually took the initiative this time. Place. Liberation. Water-style thousand-stone shark. Ghost Lantern Moon and Kisame yelled, and the two attacks hit Bullet at the same time, knocking Bullet back a few meters abruptly. This guy is Devil Fruit, kill him directly. Ghost Lantern Full Moon melted into the water with a plop, and a huge beast made of pure water roared. I know, but it looks like that guy is also a monster, Kisame said with narrowed eyes. In front, Bullet caught a golden lion pirate ship, his eyes were so excited that he was crazy, and he shouted. Armor fusion. In an instant, the huge pirate ship tore apart and merged into Bullet's body, forming a titan with armament hockey surging all over his body, looking extremely terrifying. Stop bothering my captain. Just when Corazon was about to board Roger's boat, a muscular man with sunglasses and a ponytail roared, wrapped armament hockey in his hand, and punched him. Don't bother my king, it's you. Suddenly, a soaring flame burned the dark sea area, and Natsu slammed Roger's left and right hand Jabba's fist with a fist. The moment the two collided, it was like a muffled thunder in the sky, and the violent impact formed a flame. The airwaves roared and surged around. Natsu's flame was like the fire of hell that burned everything, instantly burning the clothes on Jabba's body, leaving only the skin wrapped in armament hockey intact. Even the raging flames had spread to the surrounding sea, and the scorching water vapor forced Roger's pirate ship to retreat. Hiss. All the pirates on board gasped. Although they knew that Corazon was strong last time, the captain said that Corazon was not his opponent. But this time, although I don't know how powerful Corazon is, the strength of these subordinates alone is enough to match them. Captain Roger, why don't we retreat today, and it's not a good choice to lose both of them. The red-haired Shanks walked over and said with a frown. Even he could see it in this situation and continue to fight, it's not good for Roger's pirate ship. Once the stone gets cold, there's no chance to escape if you want to escape. Roger laughed and shook his head. Armament hockey. It's okay, Corazon is not my opponent, I can finish him off in a short time, Roger said confidently. Although Corazon's Conqueror's hockey is very strong, the battles at sea are all head-to-head battles. No matter how well developed a boy's body is, his strength will not be stronger than him. What's more, he teamed up with Marine this time to keep the Golden Lion pirate ship here. Once he retreats, Corazon might help Golden Lion. Not enough. Chapter 41. Nine-Tailed Beast Jinchuriki, Second Change. Advertisement Chapter 41. Nine-Tailed Beast Jinchuriki, Second Change. Boom. As soon as Roger stepped on the boat under his feet, there was a muffled sound, and it shot towards Corazon like thunder. Roger. Corazon's pupils suddenly became serious, and he thought that even with the abilities of Natsu Dragneel and Ghost Lantern Full Moon, he was not Roger's opponent. After all, Roger's fighting power, the stable ceiling of fighting power, and the ability to subdue Rayleigh and Bullet under his command are not only due to his charisma, but also to his strength. However, although I am not an opponent, as long as I wait for the power to be summoned this time, my strength will be greatly increased. It is really hard to say who will win and who will lose at that time. The roar of the demon of flame. Corazon opened his mouth, and the violent fire gathered in his mouth, forming a huge torrent of fire, which rushed towards Roger in an instant. When Roger saw this, he laughed boldly, covering armament hockey with the western sword in his hand, and with just one sword, he directly pierced through the overwhelming flames. So hard armament hockey, it's not just attached to the surface of the long sword. With a bang, Corazon's demon-like palm directly grasped Roger's western sword, making an ear-piercing rubbing sound. Huang. The temperature of Corazon's palm was hotter than that of magma, instantly turning Roger's long sword into a bright red color, almost melting it. My sword will be melted. Roger's pupils shrank, and the hand holding the long sword trembled a little. The heat was so hot that his palm would be roasted. Fortunately, Roger covered armament hockey on his arm in time, and barely got blown out by a punch. Roger, is it possible that you are a titan? This power? Corazon felt the power coming from the palm of his hand, and was a little surprised. Such a huge power is simply frightening. Ha ha ha, what are you talking about? I'm a decent human being. Roger laughed boldly, his eyes full of fighting spirit. The long sword kept falling like a storm, colliding with Corazon's demon arm. Hiss. The captains under Golden Lion, including Golden Lion, couldn't help but gasp. They actually blocked it. They originally thought that Corazon was just a young man with good talent. Even if he had the strength, he was only comparable to Bigumom and others. But he didn't expect to be able to fight against Roger so easily. Golden Lion couldn't help but get serious. He could feel that although Corazon was struggling against Roger, if it continued like this, it would not be a problem to resist for half an hour, which was simply shocking. It's really a monster with this kind of power in a serious illness. Corazon frowned slightly, quickly sealed Roger's puzzled gaze, and said in a low voice, water-style big explosion water shockwave. Are you still a ninja? Don't be kidding. Advertisement? It's not that he has never been to Wano Kuni. After seeing the ninjas there, he knows that there are no ninjas in this world. Roger's laughter was not over yet, and he was stunned on the spot, looking at the overwhelming water flow, which was thousands of meters high, and 100,000 grass and mud horses galloped past in his heart. Can really use water style. Quick, back up quickly. Roger didn't dare to delay. The overwhelming water flow merged with the sky impressively. The destructive power it brings is really beyond people's imagination, and there are many capable people on Roger's ship. It will definitely be bad luck if the key is swept into it. Just when Roger and the crew retreated a few hundred meters, a mechanical voice suddenly came to Corazon's mind. Mission completed. Selecting the summoned world for the host. The summoned world, the Hokage world, the summoned force, Jinchuriki, the nine-tailed beasts. One-tailed crane guard, Sandstorm Gara, two-tailed Matabi, also wooden golem. Three-tailed Shi Wu, Yagura, four-tailed Sun Wukong, Old Z. Five-tails Kakuohan, six-tails Seiken, Feather. Seven-tails Chome, Maple, eight-tails Gyuki, Killer Bee. Nine-tails Kurama, Uzumaki Kushina, the nine-tailed beasts, Jinchuriki, are originally an S-level force, but Jinchuriki is in a sealed state and can use abilities, but it cannot be summoned. Hiss. Corazon couldn't help but take a breath when he saw the news, and then his face showed ecstasy. He was so surprised that he laughed in his heart. It turned out to be Jinchuriki, a nine-tailed beast. It is simply too strong, strong pervert. Wait, system, why isn't nine-tails Jinchuriki Uzumaki Naruto? After turning his head, Corazon felt something was wrong. Logically speaking, shouldn't Jinchuriki, the nine-tailed beast, also have a Naruto? Reporting to host, Nine Tails is perfect. Once Jinchuriki Uzumaki Naruto is summoned, he will be the top Super S rank force in the force, so it is not counted in this summoning. After listening to the system's explanation, Corazon nodded slightly. Sure enough, is it because Uzumaki Naruto who has mastered the power of the perfect Nine Tails is too strong? But this is indeed invincible enough, let alone Uzumaki Kushina, Killer Bee and Yagura alone are enough to rival Admiral. At the same time, there are ninjas of 9 different colors on the sea, and they are rushing towards this side. The powerful deterrent force on them even made Golden Lion, Sengoku and others who were caught in the battle stop their movements. Who is that? Chapter 42, The Power of the Nine-Tailed Beasts, 3rd Update. Advertisement Chapter 42, The Power of the Nine-Tailed Beasts, 3rd Update. I saw the 9 figures, male and female, all dressed in strange clothes, but without exception, they all exuded a chilling wave. I have seen the king. When Killer Bee Kushina and others came to Corazon, they half-kneeled on the sea and shouted respectfully. Hiss. Golden Lion, Roger Garp and the others gasped. Although they didn't know the strength of these 9 people, they could tell that they were not ordinary people by virtue of the powerful fluctuations. But is this kind of strong man actually under Corazon? Looking at the 9 people in front of him, Corazon twitched his mouth and waved them to stand up. Finally, he felt the power coming from his body, and his eyes narrowed slightly. Endless chakra, destruction, tyranny, and destruction of everything. This evil force should be 9 tails. Carter groaned inwardly. Although Uzumaki Kushina's strength is not strong, but it can be judged as the strongest of the 9 Jinchuriki, it should rely on the 9 tails in the body. He stretched out his hand and stroked his arm slightly, making a cut, and blood flowed out from it, but in the next moment, the wound healed directly. What a terrifying destructive power. Looking at the healing wound, Corazon was a little surprised, but then understood. This should be the blood of the Uzumaki family, plus the recovery power of 9 tails, and the power of his demon itself. The 3 powers add up to almost make his body recover terribly. Sealing technique. Adamantine sealing chains. Corazon's eyes were fixed, and in an instant, several golden chains shot out from behind, circling and waving in the sky. Take a closer look. Although there are only 6 adamantine sealing chains, they are like a skynet, trapping the entire sea airtight. So strong. While urging the adamantine sealing chains, Corazon can deeply feel the power brought by the chain itself, which is enough to seal everything. After experimenting with Uzumaki Kushina's abilities, Corazon was surprised, but also sighed. At this time, Uzumaki Kushina did not have the long-lost power, that is to say, he was not a perfect 9 tails Jinchuriki, and could only use the seal to drive the power of 9 tails. Although it's a pity, it's worth it. Shaking his head, Corazon is not too regretful. After all, this is only an A-level force, not an S-level force, and he is already very satisfied with getting Kushina's seal. When the time comes, he will fiddle with the Shinigami seal again. See if the demon power can stop Shinigami's scythe, and if it works, the seal can be used at will. Turning his head, Corazon looked at a silent sea. Everyone was watching him, even Golden Lion and Roger were no exception. Hey, why are you looking at me like that? Today's protagonists are you? Corazon said with a smile, his mouth curled up. Advertisement. Golden Lion and Roger almost scolded their mothers in their hearts. Although they were the protagonists in this battle, the right to make the decision right now was obviously not on them, okay? As long as Corazon decides who to help, the battle will be one-sided. In this case, who dares to do it? Looking at the people with inexplicably complicated faces, Corazon spread his hands and said helplessly. Golden Lion, look, I also helped you stop Roger's pirate ship. You didn't live up to it, but you can't go back on your promise of my reward. Golden Lion breathed a sigh of relief, looked at Corazon complicatedly, nodded, and looked at Sengoku. Sengoku, I won't let you go this time, as long as I'm the king in the sea. With such a godsend opportunity, Golden Lion felt that if he didn't get rid of Marine Sengoku and their troops, he would have no face to hang around in the sea. Roger's complexion suddenly turned ugly. Originally, he was confident that he could deal with Corazon within a few moves, but this sudden group of strong men directly disrupted his plan. If things go on like this, let alone kill Golden Lion together, his pirate ship and the dozens of Marines' warships may sink into this sea area. Call. Roger took a deep breath, then raised the western sword in his hand and shouted. Guys, get rid of Corazon quickly, and the Golden Lion must not be allowed to escape. Rayleigh Bullet and others also knew how rare this opportunity was, so they did not hesitate to attack their previous opponents again. This time, Roger set his sights on Corazon and the nine-tailed beasts, and even wanted to fight against the nine-tailed beast's Jinchuriki by himself. Arrogant guy. Corazon twitched his lips and waved his hand. One-tailed Jinchuriki Sandstorm Gara, with both feet on the ground and palms together, endless yellow sand spreads from the gourd behind. Quicksand Storm. In an instant, endless yellow sand slapped past like a tsunami, forming a big hand and slapped Roger overwhelmingly. Brush. Roger stepped in the air a few steps, shot over like a bullet, covered Armament Hockey's western sword, and instantly pierced the yellow sand hole into a big hole. It's useless. The corners of Corazon's mouth curled up to control 6 adamantine sealing chains, and he grabbed Roger like a Skynet. As long as he was touched by adamantine sealing chains, he could swallow Chakra's physical strength. Become stronger. Roger muttered to himself with an ugly face, quickly stepped back a few steps without any hesitation, avoiding the few golden chains. However, the Corazon is faster. Eight Tails Jinchuriki Killer Bee, with countless thunders spreading from his body, let out a low growl, like a thunder formed by blue light, and quickly attacked Roger. When Killer Bee cut off Roger's back, Carter had already controlled the overwhelming golden chains in front of Roger, and as long as Roger moved, he would be caught by these chains. Chapter 43. Eight Tails Tailed Beast Cannon, Part 1. Advertisement Chapter 43. Eight Tails Tailed Beast Cannon, Part 1. What kind of monster is that? From such a distance, I can feel an evil aura. Sengoku muttered to himself on the marine warship. When he saw Corazon before, although he could also feel evil and darkness, it was just brought by himself, but this time, the evil in Corazon seemed to be an aggregate of destruction. Just look at Corazon. Sengoku could feel a giant nine-tails fox crawling at him. Facing Roger of Corazon, his face was even more ugly. Everyone be careful, this chain is not an ordinary chain, don't let it be touched, Roger shouted loudly. Corazon clapped his hands in praise. As expected of Roger, the intuition is really strong enough. Adamantine sealing chains is the strongest sealing technique of the Uzumaki family, even stronger than the Shinigami seal. Even Nine Tails Kurama will be defenseless as long as he is entangled with chains on his back. In the world of Hokage, Uzumaki has just awakened the blood of the Uzumaki family. With this move, Geto's statue was temporarily subdued, which shows the power of this sealing technique. Get the hell out of you, you inherently evil brat, Ironbone Meteor. All of a sudden, Garp roared, grabbed a huge iron ball, and threw it directly at Corazon. The cannonball flew violently in midair and everyone who heard it trembled. I won't let you attack the king. Water-style bubble technique. Three Tails Jinchuriki Yugao. His body was suddenly covered with a tail beast suit, and a big bubble was blown out. Slowly, the bubbles were flying in the sky, and in the next second, the cannonball, whose speed was comparable to that of a cannonball, slid across the sky and directly hit this small bubble. Flutter. The cannonball slid directly into the bubble, was sealed abruptly, and did not shoot out of it. It actually blocked it. Sengoku's pupils shrank. Hey, are you the ability user of Bubble Fruit? You can actually block Mr. Garp's Ironbone Meteor that covered Armament Hockey. Kizaru shouted in shock. You know, there is a reason why Garp is called the #1 Marine. In terms of strength, even Marshal Sengoku would be ashamed. At this time, Garp had no need to hold back his hands at all, but the Ironbone Meteor, who was going all out, was still blocked by someone. It is conceivable how powerful the bubble is. Is this shocking? It's almost far away, Quicksand Storm? Just when Marine was shocked, he saw a handsome man with no eyebrows and a word of love on his cheek standing on the sand, with his hands open, violent yellow sand spread out from his hands, and slapped towards the marine warship. Is it Logia Sandstorm Fruit? No, this devil fruit. I remember being eaten by some kid. Roger had a puzzled look on his face. He remembered the last time he was chatting with Whitebeard, a kid rushed up to fight Whitebeard, but he was knocked away with one move. That should be the Logia Sandstorm Fruit, but what is it now? Whether it's devil fruit or not, it's no ordinary person who can create so much yellow sand on the ocean. Rayleigh said with solemn eyes, holding the long sword in his left hand, and slashed across the yellow sand that was smashing towards him. Boom. Advertisement. The sky-filled wedding dress was cut off directly, but the cut yellow sand did not fall into the sun as Rayleigh thought, but flew alive in the sky. Rayleigh's eyes were fixed, and he planned to pursue the victory. However, at this moment, a man with dark skin, light yellow hair, black sunglasses, and 7 knives with the word iron on his right shoulder and horn marks on his left cheek suddenly rushed over. Idiots, bastards, a group of bastards, let you go. If you don't go, it's an idiot who insists on looking for death here, idiot. Killer Bee sang like a rap, and then his body emanated red chakra strangely, wrapping his body behind his back to form 3 tails, and the red chakra was still solidifying. What kind of monster is this again? Sengoku said with an ugly face. Seeing this, Golden Lion laughed out loud, and stopped worrying about Roger, but put all his thoughts on Marine. Corazon glanced at the Golden Lion, and raised his brows imperceptibly. It's really arrogant to fight against Garp and Sengoku with one's own strength. It seems that it should be a dead end. Roar. At this time, Killer Bee roared like a beast, and his body basically turned into a blood-red tailed beast. With the obvious gushing state of tailed beast chakra, covered with dark red tailed beast chakra, the elbows form tailed beastized white bones, which looks terrifying. Let me. Wearing thick armor, Bullet roared, armament hockey covered his fist, and he punched Killer Bee. Boom. Hearing a muffled sound, Bullet's face changed drastically, and his body was pushed back abruptly. It's over, Bullet can't beat it, let's surrender quickly. The clown Buggy shouted with tears and snot running down his nose. Bullet's strength is the strongest on their ship besides Roger, and even Rayleigh may not be able to match it, but he is no match for that guy. Savvy Killer Bee, perfect Jinchuriki, you must be joking, Corazon said playfully with a hook on the corner of his mouth. If you don't consider the power of the tailed beast, then Killer Bee is definitely the strongest among the 9-tailed beasts Jinchuriki, bar none. After all, Killer Bee can be said to have perfectly mastered the power of tailed beasts. Except for 9 tails, 8 tails is the strongest. The power is strong enough, with a burst of burning gas, and this state, it's an out-and-out monster, Bullet cursed solemnly. The armament hockey covering his body was more comprehensive, and he was about to charge up again with a roar, but Corazon was in no mood to be entangled by them here. Killer Bee, don't play anymore, use the tail beast cannon, Corazon said lightly. Oh, Killer Bee agreed, stood on the surface of the sea, opened his mouth wide, and his body swelled again, like blood-red chakra gathering in his mouth, gradually forming a dark black tail beast cannon in the shape of a primarch. The berserk power made Garp Golden Lion, who was caught in the anxious battle, couldn't help but look sideways, looking at the tailed beast bomb in shock. Chapter 44 9-Tailed Beast Cannons, Second Change. Advertisement Chapter 44 9-Tailed Beast Cannons, Second Change. What is that? Sengoku's eyes widened, and he carefully identified it for a long time, but he couldn't recognize the blood-red figure like a demon. What exactly is it? Is it a Eudemon's devil fruit? That kid always has some weird subordinates, Kizaru said speechlessly. The ninjas before, the demons after, and now there are another group of monsters, it is simply speechless. Roger, if you can take it, come and try it. The corner of Corazon's mouth hooked, and the 9-tailed beasts Jinchuriki stood side by side. Its Zhong tail is produced by wooden golem, 6 tails feather high, 4 tails old purple, the identity transformed into a tailed beast, violent blue flames, a ghostly blue figure, overwhelming magma, wrapped in a tailed beast coat almost as destructive as Logia. Although the rest of them didn't have the ability to transform into a tailed beast, after using their abilities, each of them was no weaker than the Vice Admiral level, which made people gasp. Boom. The violent tailed beast cannon rushed towards Roger like a few meteorites. Under the deterrent force of this tailed beast cannon, the surrounding sea was directly blasted into a gap, and the violent seawater slapped towards the surroundings. Can the tail cannon of 6 tails and 8 tails be blocked? The corner of Corazon's mouth curled up, and he looked at Roger's pirate group playfully. It was impossible to expect this cannon to destroy their pirate ship, but it was not so easy for Roger to block this move. Roger's face changed drastically, armament hockey covered the western sword, and Rayleigh also followed behind Roger. The two shouted and cut out a wave of swords. Boom. With a deafening bang, the blade and tail beast cannon completely exploded in the middle of the sea. Fortunately, that thing was detonated in advance, otherwise it would be really bad luck. Roger wiped the cold sweat from his head. If the shell was really going to explode on their pirate ship, Roger really couldn't stop it. Even if it was blocked, the aftermath of the explosion on the ship would be enough to destroy their entire pirate ship. However, at this moment, 6 golden chains sprang from the sky and wrapped around Roger's pirate ship, making it immobile. It's that woman's ability. Redhead Shanks saw the root of the chain at a glance. Uzumaki Kushina shouted nervously. I'll take care of her. Navigator Jabba took a deep breath, jumped off the ship, galloped on the sea, and quickly approached Uzumaki Kushina. Hey, let's take a look at your home first. Corazon hooked his mouth, and chakra was attached to the soles of his feet, standing on the surface of the sea. Violent flames burned blazingly on the surface of the body. Looking at the navigator Jabba, his legs were covered with flames, and then a fiery red chakra gushed out of his body, kicking him. This power. Jabba's eyes widened. Even if the armament hockey covered his body, it was useless, and he was kicked out with a bang, smashing a big hole in the bottom of his pirate ship. Advertisement, Jabba, are you okay? Roger looked at Jabba nervously, but unexpectedly, Jabba, who was second only to him in strength, was kicked back by Corazon. It's okay, but I've tried 7 times just now, but I still can't defeat that guy. Jabba shook his head, looked at Corazon and said solemnly. Not good, Captain Roger. The clown Buggy has already burst into tears. The second tail consists of wooden golem, 6 tails Yu Gao, and 5 tails Han. The figures of these guys are like ghosts. There are also Sandstorm Gara, Killer Bee, and Lao Zi. One uses yellow sand, one uses tentacles, and the last one uses magma, which almost smashes the ship. If you add those ninjas behind Corazon and those demons, how could they be opponents? Even if they beat the ship, there may not be a few living people on board. Just thinking about it makes the clown Buggy pee his pants in fright. Roger, what should I do? Pluton Rayleigh cut through the overwhelming yellow sand with a single knife, quickly turned his head to look at Roger, and asked anxiously. If it is desperate, then he will fight for his life in close quarters, and if he is running away, he must be prepared for the end. Before Roger could speak, he saw Corazon flick his fingers forward. Maldo, the ghost lamp is full of moon, you also come. Yes. Pluton Mardo showed excited eyes, transformed directly into a demon state, spread his demon wings and flew into the air, above the ocean. Countless demon thorns burst out of the water, savagely catching Roger's pirate ship. Water-style 1,000 food sharks. The 7 people shouted in unison, nearly tens of thousands of sharks showed their bloody mouths in the water, and they bit the pirate ship overwhelmingly, biting the bottom of Roger's pirate ship dozens of times in a short while. A big hole. It seems that the old lion can only be let go. Roger took a deep breath, turned his head and laughed loudly. Guys, get ready to run. Rayleigh, Bullet and the others also breathed a sigh of relief. If Roger planned to fight Corazon and the others, they would naturally not refuse, but the chances of winning were slim. Especially in this sea, the opponent's ability can either fly into the sky, or walk on the sea. No matter how you think about it, you are not an opponent. Want to escape? Corazon took a deep breath, with excited fighting will in his eyes. A powerful chakra gushed out from his stomach quickly, and the flames of his body burned blazingly on the surface of his body. Running is fast enough, but can you take this trick? In the distance, Roger's pirate group drove towards the distance almost faster than the speed of flying. Corazon quickly pinched his hand and opened his mouth to spit out overwhelming flames. Fire-style demons roar. The flames that combined Nine Tails chakra and demonic abilities allowed the prairie fires that descended from the sky to burn the sea ragingly, like waves, overwhelmingly burning towards Roger's pirate ship. Chapter 45. Roger's pirate ship running away in the desert, 3rd update. Advertisement Chapter 45. Roger's pirate ship running away in the desert, 3rd update. It's over, if such a hot fire burns on our boat, I'm afraid not even a scum will fall. Buddy the Clown was streaming down his nose and tears on the boat, looking at the overwhelming flames in horror. Shanks, let's jump off the boat, remember to fish me up, if we don't jump off the boat, we're going to die. Buddy said while holding onto Shanks' shoulder with tears in his eyes. If I had known this kind of situation, even if Shanks was killed, he would not be able to eat that devil fruit, so that he couldn't even jump into the sea now. Why panic, don't panic. Pluton Rayleigh frowned and scolded, then turned to look at Roger, and said solemnly. Roger, this flame is burning too hot. Even if it is cut off, the remaining flame will burn to our ship. I'm afraid it will be burned into a piece of Kurozumi like Bigum's Cake Island. It's okay, call Bullet and get him ready. Roger took a deep breath, raised the western sword, and armament hockey instantly covered it, looking solemnly at the overwhelming flames. Roger, can your body take it? Pluton Rayleigh looked at Roger's state, grabbed his hand, and said worriedly. Others don't know, but he knows that Roger's body is terminally ill. If he uses such a strong attack again, he may not be able to conquer this sea. Ha ha ha, don't worry Rayleigh, I won't die until I conquer this sea. Roger laughed boldly, holding the western sword in his hand, gathering violent power in his hand, shouted, and slashed directly at the overwhelming flames. This Conqueror's Hockey. Corazon was taken aback, because Roger's Conqueror's Hockey had been fused with armament hockey to form a dark red tough blade, and one could feel the surging power in it just by looking at it. Your Majesty, hurry up and escape. Ghost Lantern Moon and Natsu ran over anxiously, water and flames rushing in the sea, trying to block Corazon's move. Don't worry, this won't hurt me. As soon as Corazon stretched out his hand, he stopped Natsu and the ghost lamp full moon. 6 pads adamantine sealing chains were wrapped around the demonic arms, intending to take down this move. However, that sword blade cut off the sea directly and did not attack Corazon. The overwhelming sea current was cut off, forming a bottomless trench, and even the flames were divided into 2, burning towards both sides past. Puff. Advertisement after slashing the sword. Roger spat out a mouthful of blood, and half kneeled on the deck of the ship, clutching his chest. Roger. Pluton Rayleigh looked at Roger who was vomiting blood and yelled anxiously, then turned to Bullet and shouted. Bullet, quickly take control of the ship and get out of here. Bullet agreed, and the ability fusion in the ship instantly made the ship shoot into the distance like a rocket. Multiple fruit ability user, Bullet. Corazon looked at the direction of the ship and muttered to himself, the power to control the ship is indeed powerful, but what made Corazon more concerned was Roger's hockey. Armament hockey and Conqueror's hockey were fused together to produce a powerful force. Coupled with Roger's swordsmanship comparable to that of a great swordsman, it was possible to cut the sea into a big trench with a single sword. With that body, Roger, is it really possible for you to conquer this sea? Corazon watched Roger's disappearing figure, and then took another look at the battle between Golden Lion and Marine, and said calmly. Everyone, let's go. Ghost Lantern Full Moon, Natsu, and Kushina boarded the boat. After Corazon drove the boat, he didn't go towards North Blue, but towards the entrance of New World. After seeing it, Golden Lion took a deep breath, feeling that things were out of control. Originally, he wanted to kill the Roger pirates this time and take the New World into his own hands. However, first the huge waves sank half of his ship in the sea, and then the Marines attacked, leaving him in a bitter fight that he couldn't get out of. During the battle, I also saw the powerful force of Corazon. Although there were only less than 30 people, the fighting power displayed by these 30 people shocked Golden Lion almost speechless. Among the 9-tailed beasts, Jinchuriki, the weakest one has a fighting power comparable to that of the Naval Headquarters Captain, and the strongest one even has a fighting power comparable to that of the Admiral of Headquarters. The demons in Xerath's book, not to mention Naz and Mardo, are at the Admiral level for maintaining stability. Even if the other demons are weak, they still have the combat power of Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral. Each of the 7 ninja swordsmen has the combat power of Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral. Although it is not as good as the top few, the water flow they can control is the nemesis of everyone. Basically, sea, land and air, and strong combat power, Corazon has all of them. Such forces are even stronger than the Golden Lion's fleet. After all, in Golden Lion's fleet, there are only 1 or 2 pirates comparable to Admiral's powerhouse, and even worse than Roger's pirate group, so they can only gain an advantage by virtue of their numbers. Fortunately, Corazon has no intention of occupying the sea. Is he the king? Golden Lion heaved a sigh of relief. If Corazon wants to become king, then the Marine and the world government will all look at him, and the threat of the sea will be ignored for now. No, he can also take this opportunity to take a good rest. However, at such a young age, it is really terrifying to have such power. Golden Lion sighed with emotion, and was very glad that Corazon didn't have too many subordinates, otherwise the king of New World might not be who it is. Chapter 46 Conquering the Kingdom of Darius Rosa, First Update. Advertisement Chapter 46 Conquering the Kingdom of Darius Rosa, First Update. Your Majesty, where are we going? Ghost Lantern Manue asked suspiciously as he looked at the direction of the ship. Darius Rosa. Corazon said flatly. Now that his power has allowed him to stay in New World, there is no need to return to that barren North Blue. But Doflamingo wants to stay there, and Corazon is also satisfied with him. It just so happens that the future Don Quixote family also has many members with strange and powerful abilities, and it is not bad to hand it over to Doflamingo. Darius Rosa. What's that? An island in the New World? Hearing the question from Ghost Lantern Full Moon, Corazon slowly raised the corners of his mouth, looked at the demon Liang Yuish and Sarah, and said with a smile, Sarah, explain to him. Different from Ghost Lantern and Full Moon, the demons in Jeff's book, because they were all born from books, have an unusual hobby for books. They usually like reading books, and their understanding of the world of pirates is better than others. Full Moon, Darius Rosa, is a tropical island with a vacation style in New World. It is also known as the country of love, passion and toys. It was ruled by the Don Quixote family before, but now it is a different royal family. Liang Yuish and Sarah slowly opened a few pages of the book, and spoke according to the contents of the book. Your Majesty, is it possible that you want it? Ghost Lantern Full Moon showed excitement on his face, and everyone around him also showed excited expressions. Corazon nodded slowly, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly, he stretched out his fist and clenched it tightly, and said with a smile. The Don Quixote family was originally the royal family of the Darius Rosa kingdom, but they gave up their identity because they became celestial dragons. Now I want to take it back. The kingdom of Darius Rosa is not very powerful, but its location is good, and it is closely connected with several surrounding countries. Corazon is interested in this. After all, since he came to New World, a small kingdom naturally couldn't satisfy him. Moreover, the daughter of the king of the Darius Rosa kingdom, staring at demon fruit power, possesses a pair of clairvoyance. Corazon appreciates such a unique ability, so he directly set the goal of conquering this country for the first time. Your Majesty, Marine's arrest warrant has been issued, look. Ghost Lantern Moon suddenly grabbed a seagull in the sky and said, putting a large number of arrest warrants from the seagull's feet. Look, after this battle, who is the winner? Advertisement. Corazon asked with interest. After he left, it was impossible for Marine to let Golden Lion go. After all, Golden Lion was the only person in the sea who could overthrow Marine. The strong men under him are not inferior to the future Revolutionary Army, or even stronger. And Golden Lion has no way to use his ability to escape in that situation, so these two forces will definitely fight together to the death. In this way, Corazon is very much looking forward to the result. Ghost Lantern Full Moon glanced at the information, with surprise in his eyes, and hurriedly said. Your Majesty, after we left, during the battle between Golden Lion and Marine, another torrential rain experienced once in 100 years. Golden Lion suffered heavy losses, with 100 remaining ships. Golden Lion himself couldn't beat the combination of Garp and Sengoku. Flee to the sky after defeat, and now there is no news. It's heavy rain again. Corazon raised his eyebrows in surprise. It seems that this should be Marine's backer. For Golden Lion's failure, Corazon was not too surprised. Facing the hero Garp, the future Marine Marshal, and a Black Arms Zephyr who was ready to support at any time, how could Golden Lion alone be an opponent? The corners of Corazon's lips curled up, and he looked at the boundless sea excitedly. After the Golden Lion was defeated, the New World territory he occupied could easily be divided up. And Roger is not interested in these, only Bigimamu, Kaido of the Beasts, Whitebeard, and the weakened Golden Lion can do it. Ha 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 ha, the cruelest battle for supremacy in the ocean is about to begin. Roger, can you still find the so-called great secret treasure in this ocean? Corazon laughed excitedly. Now that the sea is rough, he also wants to step in. It's so interesting and interesting. With loud laughter, the ship sailed quickly, and it took only 1 day for Corazon to arrive at the kingdom of Darius Rosa. Landing. As the dark demon ship landed slowly, Corazon looked at the flowers on the entire island and the laughter, the corners of his mouth slightly curled up. Let's go to the palace first and meet this so-called king. Corazon waved his hands, put his hands in his pockets, and walked towards the palace of the kingdom of Darius Rosa first. The residents I met on the road, seeing Corazon and the people behind Corazon, all changed their faces in fright, and hid aside in fear. Corazon is not surprised either. After all, the 7 ninja swordsmen and the demons from the Gate of Hades look too hideous. Not to mention ordinary people, even pirates will be terrified when they see it. Soon, Corazon arrived at the gate of the palace, and saw a burly man standing at the gate of the palace, holding a long sword and looking at him solemnly. Demon Corazon, the demon ruler of North Blue, what is your purpose in coming to our kingdom? Chapter 47. I want to take back this country, second update. Advertisement Chapter 47. I want to take back this country, second update. Yo, Cyrus, the strongest sword fighter in the legend of the kingdom, the undefeated mythical man who created a record of 3,000 consecutive victories, do you want to stop me? The corners of Corazon's mouth curled up, one left and one right, the devil, Jinchuriki, and the 7 ninja swordsmen showed cold gazes one after another. Cyrus' pupils shrank, and he quickly took 2 steps back, proving that he had no intention of fighting. Corazon, I didn't mean to challenge you to fight, but I just represent this country and ask you the purpose of coming here, Cyrus said calmly. The demon Corazon, the ruler of the lawless lands of the North Blue, ruled a land with no laws at all, except that he could not do anything to his people, and was almost a gathering point for villains. Killing, death, gun trafficking, and illegal smuggling can be said to be the ruler of all evils. In the entire New World, nearly 2/10 of the guns flowed from the territory ruled by the North Blue Corazon. All major countries in the New World know about this, and even bought a lot of guns from Corazon. The kingdom of Darius Rosa did not buy though, but I have also heard about Corazon's name. So Cyrus was ready to fight the moment Corazon arrived in the capital, but that was only the worst case scenario. You represent the country? Stop kidding. Corazon seemed to hear something funny, shook his head, ignored Cyrus, and walked towards the palace. Everything in this country belongs to the king, whether the country's destruction or prosperity can be decided by the king. No matter how powerful Cyrus is, he is not qualified to speak to him on behalf of the kingdom. Stop. Cyrus' eyes turned cold, he raised the long knife in his hand, and swung it at Corazon. The target was Corazon's neck. As long as he can eliminate the threat of Corazon with one knife, no matter how strong the remaining people are, they will not pose any great threat to the kingdom of Darius Rosa even if they are leaderless. As for himself, Cyrus was ready to die. Clatter clatter. The 6 golden chains were like 6 golden dragons flying in the sky. The moment they touched the blade, they made a sound of gold and iron, and forcibly blocked the blade. Immediately afterwards, the 6 chains spread upwards along Cyrus' arms, causing Cyrus' pupils to shrink sharply, took a breath, and quickly backed away. However, before he took 2 steps back, he saw a female demon with horns on her head and a book in her hand appearing behind him. Boom! The female demon kicked Cyrus to the side wall. The powerful force made Cyrus spit out a mouthful of blood, and looked at the demons in disbelief. It's just 2 people, and they're not the strongest among them, yet they have the power to crush him. Where are you looking? When you shot, you were already dead. The figure that will not be cut again is like a fierce ghost, holding a beheading knife in his hand, and slashing down heavily with the knife, forcing Cyrus to block the long knife on his head. Crack. The moment the 2 knives came into contact, the powerful force caused cracks like spider webs to appear on both knives. Advertisement, Desert Quicksand. Gara stretched out her palm, her gaze was icy cold, and the whistling sand tightly wrapped Cyrus' body, making him unable to move. Oh no! Cyrus' heart beat suddenly, he waved his hands and feet desperately, trying to break free from the shackles of the yellow sand, but no matter how he swung, the sky full of yellow sand tightly trapped his body like steel. What a shame, it's over, Kisame sneered, raised Samahata, and cut off Cyrus' head with a knife. Keep him alive. Hearing what Corazon said in front, Kisame's knife was slightly deflected for a moment. Immediately, blood appeared on Cyrus' body, and a huge wound on his chest was cut open, and blood gushed out from it. Gara took back the yellow sand indifferently, and Cyrus fell to his knees with a plop, blood pouring out continuously, and he lost consciousness. Your Majesty, why didn't you kill him? Ghost Lantern Full Moon asked suspiciously. Carrot raised his lips and said lightly, he has daughters and children in this kingdom, which is his weakness. As long as we rule this kingdom, he will be used by us no matter how unwilling he is. Why should I kill him? Only then did Gaidong Manue and the others nodded thoughtfully. After all, they are all ninjas and have no experience in ruling a country, so they didn't take this into consideration. Walking into the palace, Corazon saw a tall middle-aged man in blue clothes with a dignified look. Pirate, why can you come up? What did you do to Cyrus? The middle-aged king asked angrily. Cyrus clearly said to stop those pirates from coming, but these pirates came up. Could it be that Cyrus has encountered an accident? Corazon didn't answer Cyrus' question, but smiled and walked in the palace. That's right, it's the same as what I read on the data before, there hasn't been much change in 800 years. What? The middle-aged king frowned, looked at Corazon in surprise, and actually said that he had seen it in the information. Who is it? My name is Don Quixote Corazon. You should have heard of this name, right? Corazon turned his head and looked at the middle-aged king with a smile. The Don Quixote family was the first king who established this kingdom. The king in front of him was just someone who occupied the country after they became celestial dragons. Family Don Quixote, you are celestial dragons. The middle-aged King Likudold shrank his pupils sharply, and looked at the blonde boy in front of him in disbelief. That's right, this country has been ruled by you for so long, I want to take it back, you should have no objection. Corazon asked with a smile, the corners of his mouth curled up. Chapter 48 The country has changed its owner, third update. Advertisement Chapter 48 The country has changed its owner, third update. How could there be no opinion? King Liku gritted his teeth, looked at Corazon angrily, and said, you said it yourself, this country belongs to you. It happened 800 years ago, and 800 years have passed. This country has already forgotten you. What's more, as the celestial dragons, you are already the supreme existence. Why bother to focus on this small marginal country? In any case, King Riku did not intend to return the kingdom to Corazon. After all, the devil Corazon's notoriety spread far and wide, and basically every pirate knew that if this country was handed over to Corazon, it would probably become a place of crime. No, I'm not talking to you as a celestial dragons, but as a king. Today, whether you agree or not, I will decide this country. Corazon said with a smile. Wishful thinking. King Riku slapped the table angrily, and shouted outside the door. Guard, come in quickly, guard. If you're talking about these guys, they're dead. Pluton Mardo walked in from the main entrance of the palace, countless demon thorns wrapped around the guards, blood dripped continuously. Damn it, you are so cruel, how could I hand over the kingdom to you? Seeing those dead guards, King Riku's eyes shot fire, roared, rushed down from the throne, and punched Corazon. I order you to kneel down. Liang Yuishan Sera waved his hand indifferently, and the powerful mantra wrapped around King Riku's body, which made King Riku unbelievable. Illusion Naraku C technique. Uzumaki Kushina formed mudras with both hands, and a slight fluctuation covered King Riku's body, making King Riku gradually close his eyes angrily and fell to the ground with a plop. Okay, gentlemen, go and take this country down. Corazon opened his hands, stood on top of the palace, looked down at the entire kingdom, and said with a big smile to dozens of people. Yes. Ghost Lantern Full Moon, Mardo, Uzumaki Kushina and others responded respectfully, and instantly turned into countless figures, heading towards the kingdom. In just a moment, there was a fight in the kingdom. Demon thorns, adamantine sealing chains, Jinchuriki chakra, ninja sword ability, all kinds of lights flickered in the capital. Then it disappeared in a very short period of time, as if it never happened. My lord, most of the army in this kingdom has been suppressed, but our number is too small, so some omissions. Advertisement. The figure of the ghost lamp Full Moon suddenly flickered over, half kneeling on the ground, and respectfully said to Corazon. It's okay, suppress the army first. Corazon's face was calm, and he knew that there were too few people, but it didn't matter. After the establishment of the empire, there would be an S-level force on the stage, and the number of people would be enough at that time. Devil, what have you done to my father? At this moment, a rather attractive beauty with long brown black hair and beautiful light brown pupils ran from the palace, checked King Riku's status, and looked at Corazon angrily. Corazon looked over, and suddenly the corners of his mouth curled into a subtle arc. Violet, the second daughter of King Riku, who has the ability to stare at the fruit, can see scenes thousands of miles away at a glance. He wants to fix this woman. Your father is fine, he just passed out. Corazon walked over with a smile, lifted Violet's chin and said. I like your ability very much. As long as you are obedient, how about I won't kill your father? Hearing Corazon's words, Violet stared at him with wide eyes, as if seeing something. His pupils shrank sharply, then he gritted his teeth and said. A man of ambition, you are attacking our kingdom of Doris Rosa, surely not for our kingdom, but to conquer all the kingdoms around here, right? Good guess. Corazon clapped his hands approvingly. As expected of a staring fruit ability user, the power to see through people's hearts is indeed very strong. Although this is also the reason why he was not prepared, it can also see Violet's potential. HMPH, do you think your ambition will succeed? We are all kingdoms recognized by the world government. If you attack us, the world government will not let you go. Violet stared at Corazon with wide eyes. Then it has nothing to do with you. Now if the world government dares to send people over, it may not be who wins. Corazon showed excited eyes. With the Golden Lion not solving the problem and Roger still taking risks in the sea, will the world government have such boldness? Marine, if they dare to come, Pluton Mardo, Kushina, they are all ready. Violet gritted her teeth, looked at King Riku worriedly, then stood beside Corazon, looked towards the capital, and immediately covered her mouth in surprise. Unexpectedly, there are so many monsters, and they have eliminated all the troops in our kingdom in such a short period of time. Of course. Corazon looked at the people who were gradually coming back, looked at the sea in the distance, and said with a smile. Masters, within 3 days, I want to see all the kingdoms around me belong. Can I do it? Yes. Chapter 49 The Empire is about to be established, first update. Advertisement. Chapter 49 The Empire is about to be established, first update. What's going on at sea recently? Golden Lion, Roger, Whitebeard, Corazon, where are they all now? Kong sat in the marshal's office, asked solemnly. It's been a while since the Golden Lion was sieged. Although the situation was calm during this period, everyone knew that with the Golden Lion's character, things could not end so easily. Maybe the Golden Lion was planning some kind of conspiracy right now, preparing for a big attack. As for the flying pirates, I can't even detect them, Kizaru said helplessly. With the ability of Golden Lion Fruit, he can easily fly up to 10,000 meters in the air. The whole sea is so huge, where can he go to investigate? Kong frowned and looked at Sengoku again. The Golden Lion pirates are not to be feared. I am afraid that he will join forces with Corazon or Whitebeard. At that time, with Golden Lion's appeal, Whitebeard's fighting power, and Corazon's subordinates, I'm afraid there will be a force even more terrifying than Marine. Sengoku pondered for a moment, took out a piece of information from behind, and said, the Whitebeard pirates are not unusual, but... Kong frowned deeply and asked in a deep voice, Corazon, what did that Brad do again? He brought down the kingdom of Darius Rosa, and has been attacking several other kingdoms for the past few days, and it is estimated that he has already occupied it, Sengoku said with an ugly face. The kingdom of Darius Rosa, I remember that as a member country of the world government, that brat. He slapped the table hard in the air, his face was full of anger. The last time was Corazon. Without Corazon, he would definitely have completely defeated the Golden Lion pirate ship in the last annihilation battle, and this time he dared to claim the opportunity to occupy the kingdom. What does the world government say? After calming down, Kong asked in a deep voice. After all, Corazon is celestial dragons, and if the world government disagrees, he can't attack the territory ruled by Corazon. Hearing this, Sengoku's face became more and more ugly, and he clenched his palms tightly and said, the meaning of world government is to agree with the kingdom occupied by Corazon, but the premise is that he must join the member countries of world government, otherwise we need to destroy it. Those bastards, boom, angry, he smashed the table in front of him with his fist, his eyes were full of anger, he wished he could find those celestial dragons now and fight for his life. Agreeing with the kingdom ruled by Corazon, doesn't it mean agreeing that Corazon has become a king and is no longer a pirate? So what are their marine sacrifices? Marshal Kong, what do you mean? Sengoku looked at Kong and asked. Humph, you will take Zephyr and Garp to the kingdom of Darius Rosa together in a while. If that brat is willing to hand over other occupied countries, then admit him as a member of the world government, otherwise the three of you will be directly on that island. Kill that brat to me. Kong said harshly, not going to give Corazon a chance. Advertisement otherwise, once Corazon grows up, coupled with that group of weird and unpredictable subordinates, he will definitely be a guy more terrifying than Golden Lion. Then the three of us will go, in case Golden Lion. Sengoku hesitated. The three of them are the pillars of Marine. If they leave, whether it is Golden Lion or Whitebeard attacking here, I am afraid that it will bring great losses to Marine. I'm guarding here, you three just need to deal with those two brats quickly, Kong said in a deep voice. Corazon is a bigger threat than Golden Lion and Whitebeard. After hearing this, Sengoku nodded firmly and strode out of Kong's office. After waiting for Sengoku to leave, Kong angrily looked at Corazon's wanted notice on the table in front of him, and crushed it into pieces. Born evil brat. Meanwhile, the kingdom of Darius Rosa. Your Majesty, the nearby kingdoms have been suppressed, and they can change their dynasties just by giving you an order. Ghost Lantern Moon half knelt on the ground and said respectfully. In 2 days, it is estimated that the Naval Headquarters World Government has also received the news, and they will be here in a short time, but they are one step late. Corazon sat in the top position, with the corners of his mouth curled up, he grabbed a phone and said. My lords, inform the kingdoms you conquered. From now on, they will be subordinate territories of the Empire, and they will all be citizens of the Empire. Yes. Understood, your subordinate will notify you now. The voices of ninjas and demons came from the phone bug. With their strength, it couldn't be easier to solve a kingdom that had no power to fight back. Saw, the kingdom of Darius Rosa will change its name from now on. The corner of Corazon's mouth curled up. What's the name of the empire? It's just ridiculous, an empire is an empire. No need for a name. I just don't know what kind of powerhouse the S-level power directly rewarded by the system will be when the empire is established. Corazon looked forward to it. After all, among his 3 forces, one is A-level, and the other 2 are A-level to S-level. None of them are directly summoned from S-level, so it must be different. At this moment, Kisami's figure came in from the outside, still covered with wet seawater, half kneeling on the ground and said respectfully. My lord, first found Marine in the sea. There are Marine Admiral Sengoku, Admiral Zephyr, Vice Admiral Garp, and Pluzalino, Kuzan, and Sakazuki 3 rear admirals. Do you need your subordinates to destroy their ships? Oh, after Corazon heard it, he suddenly became interested. Marine 3 admirals, and the next 3 admirals are dispatched together. Is this going to completely solve me? With excitement in his eyes, Corazon waved his hand and said. No, let them come over, just let them witness the birth of the empire. And Corazon also wanted to see what kind of strength the S-rank forces summoned this time had. Chapter 50 Resurrection is not impossible, 2nd. Advertisement Chapter 50 Resurrection is not impossible, 2nd. I am Admiral of Headquarters, Sengoku, come to meet your king, please lead the way. Sengoku said to the ghost full moon in front of him with a dark face. If he hadn't known that Ghost Lantern Moon had the ability to control water flow and his extraordinary strength, he would have gone in a long time ago, and suddenly saw a scene of fierce battle, which made this Marine Admiral full of anger. The king promised to see you. This way please. Ghost Lantern Moon looked Sengoku up and down, smiled like a shark, and gestured to Sengoku. All the way through the long hall, walked to the top of the palace, and then jumped on the roof. At this time Sengoku's face had turned dark. I was wondering in my heart, did Corazon have some disease in his heart? Why did he run to the roof if he didn't stay in the hall? Sengoku, Garp, Zephyr, Brother Kizaru, long time no see. Corazon looked at the person coming, smiled and waved. Kizaru's face turned black. Bro, he was completely coerced, okay? Seeing Sengoku's face again, Kizaru suddenly cried out in his heart, and saw Sengoku looking at him angrily, really dumb and unable to tell. Corazon, you are so brave. You dare to attack the countries that are members of the world government. Are you afraid that I will kill you here? After giving Kizaru a hard look, Sengoku returned to the subject and looked at Corazon and said angrily. Don't be afraid. Corazon twitched his lips and said, if you came to kill me, you wouldn't talk to me so politely. Tell me, what is the purpose of coming here? What a sharp-tongued brat. Zephyr looked at Corazon and frowned. Although he had heard of Corazon's name before and had the opportunity to meet him, he missed it due to various chances and coincidences. But seeing Corazon now, Zephyr only felt an evil aura in the young man, which made people frown. Sengoku clenched his fists fiercely. Unexpectedly Corazon saw through his purpose. But he still couldn't help but grit his teeth and asked, Corazon, you attacked the kingdom of Darius Rosa, and the number of deaths exceeded tens of thousands. Don't you feel guilty? Corazon stood up slowly, and asked with a smile, do you care how many ants you trampled to death? You? Sengoku Garp Zephyr Kazaru Aokiji Akainu. The eyes of the 6 people suddenly widened, and they even compared human life to ants. What a heart. Well, even though I said that, I still don't take humans so lightly. Corazon put his hands in his pockets and said lazily, it's just that this is a war between countries. Death is inevitable, just like your marine buster call, it is unavoidable, but when they become my sons I will treat them well. Celestial dragons, they are indeed a bunch of bastards. Zephyr couldn't help cursing angrily. Corazon was not angry after hearing this, but looked at Zephyr with great interest, and said, Zephyr Admiral, don't compare me with the celestial dragons. It's only Corazon standing in front of you, not celestial dragons. Also, I remember your wife and son were killed by pirates, right? Advertisement. Zephyr clenched his palms tightly. That's right, not long ago, a pirate he sent to impel down was released after serving his sentence. As a result, the pirate heard about his hometown from nowhere, and not only gave his wife killed, and even his 5-year-old son was not spared. You see, even you want to kill that pirate, but as a righteous marine, you can't take revenge, which shows that this world itself is imperfect, and I want to change this world, and some sacrifices are inevitable. Yes, I'd be glad if you could help me. Corazon smiled and held out his hand, inviting Zephyr to join his empire. You think beautifully. Sengoku scolded angrily and said, Zephyr is a marine, how could he be with you? Don't talk so deadly. The corner of Corazon's mouth twitched, and said, if I say I can resurrect Zephyr Admiral's wife and son, maybe Zephyr Admiral may really join my empire. What? Zephyr's eyes widened suddenly. Resurrection. Does this forbidden ability really exist? Really? Can you really resurrect my wife and son? Zephyr asked anxiously. Zephyr, calm down. Resurrection is impossible. Sengoku's face changed drastically, and he said hastily. Well, resurrection is certainly possible, but I haven't mastered it yet, but if you join my empire, I will resurrect your wife and son in less than 5 years, how about it? Corazon smiled and held out his palm, giving Zephyr a 5. Reviving that ability, although very pervert, is not impossible. Hokage's reanimation jutsu, Rinne Tensai technique, Shinigami's soul skeleton, Inuyasha's soul into a demon, etc., are all abilities that involve life and death. Zephyr took a sharp breath, complex meanings in his eyes. His observation haki has been shrouding Corazon's body. As long as Corazon's expression shows a slight misconception, he can feel it. But in Corazon's body, he can only feel a strong confidence. Can it really be resurrected? Zephyr's voice was extremely dry, and his heart was pounding. Just a few words made the Marine Admiral completely panic. Zephyr. Sengoku gritted his teeth, looking at Zephyr worriedly. He knew that Zephyr had been emotionally unstable because his wife and son had just died, and in the current situation, there might be problems. On one side is the justice of Marine, the persistence in his heart, on the other side is his wife and son, such a painful choice. Zephyr couldn't help but take 2 steps back and covered his head. Zephyr, damn boy, do you think your trick will work? Seeing the old man in such pain, Sengoku clenched his palms tightly and cursed at Corazon. Well, I'm just giving you a choice. In my empire, there are not many more, and there are many less. Corazon spread his hands with a smile. He invited Zephyr only because Zephyr's teaching methods are very strong, and he also just wants to learn about arm color and knowledge color. It is naturally the best to get it, and it is no loss for him if he can't get it. Sengoku. Garp patted Sengoku's shoulder, forced Sengoku down, then looked at Corazon, and said in a deep voice. Corazon, it is impossible to join your empire. Tell me your other conditions, as long as it is not too much. First degree for Marine. Chapter 51. Arrival of Shao Organization, 3rd update. Advertisement. Chapter 51. Arrival of Shao Organization, 3rd update. Ha ha ha. Corazon couldn't help laughing out loud as if he heard something funny. Then he looked at the frowning 6 people and said with a smile, resurrecting heaven-defying and changing fate, it's ridiculous that you still want to negotiate conditions for such a thing. Zephyr's eyes darkened. Indeed, how could it be possible to revive 2 people without paying a price? Corazon, don't go too far. As long as you become a member of the world government, you must obey the orders of the world government. How dare you refuse? Sengoku said angrily. Corazon sneered and said, when did I say that I would become a member of the world government? I don't care about that kind of thing. A mere world government, even the garbage forces that the sea can't calm down, deserves him to join. So, you are going to refuse? Sengoku took a deep breath, ready to attack, and asked. Garp covered armament haki with his hands, no longer smiling as before, but ready for a hard fight. As an old buddy who has been with him all his life, Garp naturally knows how sad Zephyr is in his heart. Now that he has the opportunity, he will do his best. On the bodies of Aokiji and Akainu, one emits cold air and the other emits heat, staring closely at Corazon. Here, none of Corazon's subordinates are here, and it is the best time to deal with him. Even if the ghost lamp full moon and Kisame come to support at that time, it will not help the matter. Well, don't be so impatient, the next thing is the establishment of the empire, a moment to witness history. The corner of Corazon's mouth curled up, he waved his hand indifferently, and pouted towards the outside of the palace, causing the observation haki of the 6 people to instantly envelope them. This is, Sengoku's pupils shrank, it's actually 7 kings. Seeing the 7 people being escorted outside the palace, Sengoku was furious, turned his head to look at Corazon and asked. You actually attacked 7 countries, not just 7. There are 9 in total, except that the king of the kingdom of Daris Rosa is not in there, and there is one who wanted to abandon the country and escape, and drowned in the water, Corazon said with a smile. Sengoku clenched his palm tightly, and just as he couldn't hold back the anger in his heart, and was about to attack Corazon, a woman's voice sounded in the sky. The kingdom of Daris Rosa, the kingdom of Kolmari, the kingdom of Cilicia, the kingdom of Strickle, all conquered. I command you to worship the birth of the empire. Sengoku's expression changed suddenly following the order from Saraliang Yuishin. He almost lost control of his body and almost fell to his knees on the ground. Fortunately, armament haki covered it in time. This ability. Looking at the woman holding a book in the sky, Sengoku gasped. The ability to command others. So scary. If this ability is stronger, wouldn't it be possible to control people of his level to die? Advertisement just thinking about it makes people feel creepy. On the other side, Zephyr's face became more tangled. Devil, there really are demons. Corazon even has demons as his subordinates, and in the myth of demons, they are evil creatures who play with people's souls. Doesn't that mean that Corazon really has the ability to resurrect his wife and son? Boom. Just when Sengoku Garp and the other 6 were silent, at the center of the kingdom of Daris Rosa. A flame shot up into the sky, and with the flame, a flame demon with flame wings on its back and flames wrapped around its body suddenly circled in the upper air. In an instant, flames burned in the sky, accompanied by the white cloud, as if half of the sky was burned, and the residents of several nearby islands could clearly see the color of the fire in the sky. Boom. With a deafening bang, the flames in the sky exploded like fireworks, and countless flames fell from the sky to the ocean, and even the ocean began to burn blazingly. Hiss, Naz, the demon of flame, let such a strong man create an atmosphere, it's too big. Kazaru looked at Natsu in the sky, couldn't help but widen his eyes, and said in shock. Naz, the demon of flame, their marines have collected information, and know that this is a strong man who can wrestle with Bigimamu, but at this time, just as a person who puts off fireworks, it is shocking and unbelievable. It's not over yet. If this level shocks you, you should go back. Corazon said with the corner of his mouth curled up. Following Corazon's voice, a giant blue tiger and an octopus suddenly appeared on the surface of the sea, roared violently, grabbed several sea kings in the sea, and threw them directly to the island. By Wooden Golem, Killer Bee. Akaina's eyes are dignified. After their intelligence analysis, these 2 people are said to be Jinchuriki, especially Killer Bee, whose strength is not weaker than the General Admiral. Congratulations to host, officially established an empire with 9 islands, rewarding the arrival of a complete S-level force. The Chosen World, the Hokage World, Shao Organization. Pain, State of Heaven, Rinnegan, Zero Burial. Conan, Paper Technique, White Tiger, Absolute, Spore Technique, Xuanwu. Uchiha Itachi, Sharingan, Vermilion Bird Orochimaru, Rebirth, Sora-chan. Scorpion, Human Puppet Technique, Jade Girl. Deidara, The Art of Exploding, Blue Dragon. Hidan, The Body of Immortality, 3, Afe, Sharingan, Wood Style, Nando. Chapter 52 Garp Sengoku Shocked to Speech, First Change. Advertisement Chapter 52 Garp Sengoku Shocked to Speech, First Change. Hiss. Shao Organization. Corazon gasped in shock. The Akatsuki organization in its full state is actually only an S-level force, which is really incredible. And it's unbelievable that Hobby, aka Obito, would appear out of it. According to Carter's thinking, this should be after Kisame was summoned, the system summoned a substitute of Faye as the summoner. Originally, Corazon thought it would summon some ruthless man who slashed the tailed beast bomb. However, is this an S-level power? There are only a few people in total, too few, right? After reacting, Corazon frowned and asked suspiciously. Although there are a lot of people in the Akatsuki organization, but there are only more than 10. Although White Zetsu's sport technique is powerful, he is not good at management. It is useless to ask him to come. Reporting to the host, the complete S-level forces are summoned together with the character forces. That is to say, Tiandao Pain will bring Murloc Village, Orochimaru will bring Cloud Shinobi Village, Ghost Lantern Water Moon, Changwu and others, and the same goes for Scorpion, Deidara and others. FK. Corazon was really shocked this time, it was a summoning in this sense, and even the root was summoned. Rain Shinobi Village, Sound Ninja Village. Thinking of the powerful people in it, Corazon was very excited. Although there are many Jonin ninjas in Rain Shinobi Village, there are not many outstanding ones, not to mention, but Yinin Village is a force created by Orochimaru. Kagaya Kimimaro, Yakushi Kabuto, Shongo, Shanglin, Ghost Light Suigetsu, Crystal Style Gurren. It can be said that none of these powerhouses is lower than Jonin. In the future ninja war, Yakushi Kabuto and Ghost Light Suigetsu will be even more prominent. And Kagaya Kimimaro should not be underestimated, after all, he is a young cage level player. If they are summoned together, it will be a very strong boost. Corazon took a few steps to the edge of the palace roof, looked at the palace in the distance, and suddenly widened his eyes in surprise. On the open space in the distance, countless black lines quickly spread on the ground, covering the surrounding open space in the blink of an eye. Boom! With a deafening crackling sound, a white mist emerged from the sky, covering nearly half of the capital. What is that? Sengoku looked at the center of the white mist suspiciously, his brows were deeply frowned. What's going on? Ever since they came to the kingdom of Rosa, Sengoku has always felt passive. From the very beginning, they fell into Corazon's verbal trap, and now this kind of ignorance of the situation appeared again, which really gave Sengoku a headache. That is, a Dvertisement. House. Garp, Zephyr, Sengoku and the others stared wide-eyed for a moment, looking at the area shrouded in white mist in disbelief, and even couldn't believe their own observation hockey. Houses, buildings, and how could human beings appear out of thin air? Rain Tiger Freedom Technique. After the house completely appeared, at the top of the village in the white mist, an indifferent voice sounded. Tick-tock. At this moment, light rain began to fall over the kingdom of Rosa. The light rain was very thin, but it enveloped the entire capital. Sengoku reached out to touch the rainwater, and his expression changed drastically. This rain is wrong. Garp and Zephyr nodded solemnly. They could feel a strange force from the rain, which was quite weak, and seemed to be used for investigation. This range is even wider than that covered by observation hockey. What weird things did that kid do? Sengoku's complexion was quite ugly at this moment. When the white mist gradually dissipated, the eyes of Sengoku, Garp, Zephyr and others froze for a moment. What appeared in front of them was a village. However, the buildings in this village are completely different from other buildings. Most of them are made of steel, and many large and small steel pipes are erected inside and outside, forming a unique landscape. Although the kingdom of Rosa is sunny, there is always cloudy and rainy weather above the village. On the streets, there are countless villagers coming and going, and it seems that they have long been used to this kind of weather. Deeper in the village, Sengoku, Garp and others could feel several powerful auras, which made them gasp. This method of creating things almost out of thin air made Sengoku suddenly dumbfounded. Thinking back to Corazon's subordinates who appeared before but couldn't find any information, he decided in his heart that this was where those subordinates came from. But this is too scary, creating out of thin air. Sengoku swallowed dryly. How is this possible? If it is possible to create strong people out of thin air, there is no need for them to fight, there is no chance of winning at all. At the same time, on the other side of the royal capital, a series of bungalow buildings resembling the Sengoku period rose from the ground, and many teenagers were training in them. However, when Sengoku, Garp and others' observation hockey covered the past, it was even more shocking to take a breath. What kind of devil's place is this? Although the upper part of the village is not big, there is an underground space that is dozens of times larger than the upper part of the village. The space is full of various research materials, people soaked in nutrient solution, stumped limbs, and all kinds of strange creatures. Those who see it can't help but feel chills. As if feeling their gaze, a man in the basement with long black hair, long golden pupils, purple eyeshadow extending to the nose, pale skin, and blue jade-shaped earrings licked his lips evilly, said in a hoarse and magnetic voice. Although I can't feel who is watching me, your ability is quite special. Would you like to sit here for a while? Chapter 53. An embarrassing scene that can't be described, second more. Advertisement. Chapter 53. An embarrassing scene that can't be described, second more. The corner of Corazon's mouth twitched. As expected of Orochimaru, who survived to the second part, he is very courageous. He still doesn't know the opponent's strength, so he has to study and dissect him. For Orochimaru's invitation, Corazon doesn't think it's well-intentioned. Why does this guy think about dissecting people in this world? Uncomfortable guy, inside and out, like a lion majesty. Sengoku said with a frown. Although the scientists at naval headquarters look like this, but Orochimaru. It feels like you are facing an unpredictable lion majesty, ready to bite at any time. Sarah, is it? The corner of Kaladasong's mouth curled up, with a playful look on his face. But as far as I know, Orochimaru is quite a good person. That is, dissect some people, do some human experiments, abduct some children, and kill your master. It's really heinous. Corazon, don't make any fools of yourself. Today, no matter what happens, Marine will take you to impel down. Zephyr took a deep breath and said firmly, not thinking about the resurrection anymore. As Sengoku said, resurrection is nonsense, not to mention that Corazon also said that he does not have this ability for the time being, and now, as long as he catches Corazon, the resurrection will be clear at a glance. That's a pity. Corazon sighed, shook his head and regretted. I want Orochimaru to help you revive your wife and children, what a pity. What? Zephyr froze in place as if struck by lightning. After a while, he turned his head stiffly, and Orochimaru was overwhelmed with knowledge. That guy has the ability to resurrect. Well, although it's not a real resurrection, it can still allow you to meet your wife and son. Carter tilted her head and pondered for a while. Reanimation jutsu seems to have no time limit, and it can be regarded as an alternative resurrection, probably. Zephyr's panting became heavy all of a sudden, and he clenched his palms tightly. If it was just now, he could still lie to himself that Carter was lying, but now, the person with resurrection ability is in front of him, and Carter has no reason to lie to him. Zephyr, don't be fooled, there is no resurrection ability in this world. Seeing Zephyr, who was gradually short of breath but slowly calmed down, Sengoku's face changed drastically, and he shouted anxiously. The relationship between Sengoku and Zephyr, an old comrade in arms for so many years, even without Zephyr talking, Sengoku can know what Zephyr is thinking with just one look, and Zephyr's expression is obviously moved. Don't be so anxious, I'm here and I can't escape. Corazon opened his hands and said playfully, or are you saying that you even ignored Zephyr Admiral's relatives in order to arrest me? Now Zephyr couldn't bear it anymore, and said in silence for a moment, I'll go and see what that guy's ability is, if he doesn't have it, I'll be responsible for arresting him. Advertisement. After the voice fell, Zephyr stepped on the air, stepped on the sound of the sound, and rushed towards Yinin village like an arrow from the string. Damn it, Corazon! Sengoku clenched his palms angrily, looked at Corazon with fire-breathing eyes, and grabbed Corazon's shoulders directly with his palms. Shenluo Tianzheng. Seeing Sengoku's outstretched palm, Corazon hooked his mouth, and a blue film appeared around his body. The strong repulsive force knocked Sengoku back 2 steps. What kind of ability is this? Sengoku's eyes widened, staring at the invisible repulsion in Corazon's hand. There is actually a new ability. Is this brought by the power that came suddenly? The power of God. Although a false god, Corazon complained in his heart and said proudly. He didn't receive Uzumaki Nagato's ability, only Tendo Pain's ability. According to the system's information, it seems that Tiandao Pain has become an independent person, which is a bit of a pity, but it is also possible to get a cold and ruthless subordinate who will never be soft-hearted. By the way, when will Didera and the others come over? After thinking for a moment, Corazon looked outside the kingdom of Darius Rosa. This time, the place where Didera and others descended is a little far away, outside the scope of the empire, instead of being directly summoned into the royal capital like Heavenly Dao Pain and Orochimaru. Sengoku took a deep breath, looked at each other with garp, nodded, covered armament hockey with both hands, and grabbed Corazon, but at this moment, their expressions changed drastically, and they looked anxiously at Atonin village where Orochimaru was. Not good, Zephyr. At the moment just now, Zephyr's breath was extremely weak, as if he was seriously injured and dying. Before Corazon had time to control, Garp and Sengoku stepped on the roof, and their bodies rushed over in an instant. Corazon also raised his eyebrows, looking at Atonin village in surprise. How could Zephyr be solved so quickly? Something is wrong. Thinking in his heart, Corazon suddenly grew 2 flame wings like dragon wings, flying faster than Garp and Sengoku. Boom! Corazon blazed straight through the soil leading to the basement and jumped in, followed by Garp and Sengoku. Ah, Zephyr, I miss you so much, The moment Garp and Sengoku jumped into the basement, their eyes almost popped out, their mouths were open enough to put a hand in, embarrassment appeared on their faces, they looked at each other, and quietly walked towards the room where Orochimaru was. This is too blatant. Sengoku was walking on the road with a dark face, complaining constantly. Although I don't know how Zephyr's wife was resurrected, but doing that kind of thing right after resurrection, not good. P.S. Kakuzu. After all, I am not worthy of being a member of the Akatsuki organization. In fact, the author has forgotten. Chapter 54 Keeping You in This Empire, 3rd, Advertisement. Chapter 54 Keeping You in This Empire, 3rd, Orochimaru, what's going on? Corazon walked to Orochimaru's laboratory and asked with raised eyebrows. Ho ho ho, what are you talking about? Orochimaru asked with a hoarse smile, licking his lips. It's outside, it's Zephyr outside, what's wrong with him? Sengoku asked with an ugly face. With an evil smile on Orochimaru's face, he pointed to a cup and said. He asked me to help him revive a person, I promised him, resurrect for an hour, the price is that he let me study it. What did you study him for? Sengoku took a deep breath and asked in a cold voice. Sengoku's lungs exploded just thinking about having a marine admiral do that sort of thing at the basement door. It's just a small survey of physical resistance. Orochimaru showed excited eyes, held up a bottle of blood in his hand, his eyes were full of fanaticism. I didn't expect his body to be so strong. Although he is 50 years old, he still maintains his youthful strength, and even continues to grow. He can even resist the erosion of toxicity. How dare you poison him? Sengoku clenched his fists and roared. No, it's just that the dose of aphrodisiac is too much, it will be fine in a while, Orochimaru said indifferently. He just wants to study the bottle of blood in front of him. Aphrodisiac, Garp and Sengoku looked at each other, clenched their palms tightly and sat in the laboratory anxiously, intending to go out to help Zephyr, but it was really not easy to disturb, and their faces were reddened for a while. It's so intense, as expected of teacher Zephyr, the majesty is unabated. Kizaru smiled frivolously, and walked in slowly from the door, followed by Aokiji and Akainu with weird faces. Brother Kizaru, if you want, I can give you a drink too. Corazon held up Zephyr's cup playfully and laughed. Kizaru's mouth twitched and he turned his head away. Make up your mind not to eat or drink anything in this kingdom, otherwise if you are so humiliated in public, you will have no face to live. As time passed, Corazon was not in a hurry. The faces of these 5 people were the best way to pass the time, not to mention, he also needed to get used to the ability he had just acquired. After 40 minutes or so, the sound outside the door faded away, replaced by Zephyr and his wife's constant conversation. When an hour passed, Zephyr walked in with a dark face and red cheeks, with a complex expression on his face. Zephyr, is it true? Seeing Zephyr, Sengoku took a deep breath and asked nervously. Zephyr nodded silently, sat on the chair without speaking, and no one knew what he was thinking. Hiss. Sengoku, Garp and the other 5 people couldn't help but gasped. It was true, There really was such a taboo power of resurrection in the world. Advertisement, Zephyr, make your choice. Corazon tilted his head and said playfully. He wants to see if Zephyr chooses Marine, who is the henchman of celestial dragons, or his own family. Needless to say, our choice is. Sengoku waved his hand, a cold light flashed in his eyes, he punched him, and roared, Ketchut impel down. Sengoku. Zephyr couldn't help but yelled at Sengoku, who made a sudden move. I can't help it, Zephyr, this ability is too terrifying. Think about it, if you let this guy resurrect all the big pirates that died before, who else in this sea can resist, and the whole world will be destroyed by then, don't forget, you are Marine? Sengoku yelled angrily. Zephyr's expression darkened in an instant. Indeed, he is a Marine, and there is no personal affair in matters of right and wrong. Triple Rashomon. Orochimaru crossed his hands, bit his thumb for blood, and pressed hard on the ground. Bang! 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 The Rashomon, which was over 1,000 meters high and as huge as a mountain, was summoned again, opening Yama's mouth as if mocking the opponent. Sengoku's pupils shrank sharply, but the fist he swung was like a bow and arrow that was off a string, and he couldn't stop. Boom! 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 Sengoku wrapped armament hockey, used his fist with all his strength, and smashed 2 Rashomons abruptly, but was blocked by the 3rd Rashomon. What a hard door. Sengoku looked at the tinge of red on his fist and said in shock. The ability is too weird, Sengoku. Frowning, Garp yelled at Sengoku, kicked the soil on top of his head, and jumped to the ground outside. As an old comrade in arms for many years, he naturally knew that Sengoku had used all his strength just now, even the Gate of Justice, and it was possible to blast a big hole, but he was blocked by these 3 gates. It's too bad to fight here, get out! Sengoku shouted. Aokiji Kizaru and the others followed closely behind. Corazon didn't stop them, watching them leave with playfulness. Wong, they have already made a move, can we also fight back? Orochimaru licked his lips and asked excitedly with enthusiasm in his eyes. What he yearns for is endless ninjutsu and eternal life. The former is enough for him now, and the latter, if he can get the blood analysis of the world's strongest, maybe he can develop a way to keep cells youthful forever. Of course, Akatsuki organizes to dispatch together to solve them. Corazon stood up, eyes sparkling with excitement. Deidara has already reached the kingdom of Deraiserosa first, and it is estimated that Scorpion and Hidan are coming soon, together with Kushina, Naz and others. He wants to keep Sengoku Garp and others in the kingdom of Deraiserosa. Chapter 55. The Weird and Powerful Orochimaru, First Change. Advertisement Chapter 55. The Weird and Powerful Orochimaru, First Change. Sengoku, do you think we can do well this time? Zephyr asked with a deep breath, frowning. Although the resurrection of his wife just now made him lose his position, but in terms of right and wrong, he can only bury his personal emotions. Facing the gazes of 5 people, Sengoku felt a lot of pressure in his heart. Although they have 3 admirals here, plus 3 marine rear admirals from Lobia, they are not weaker than the top marine vice admirals, and they are enough to suppress any forces in the sea at this time, but Corazon, he really has no confidence. If Corazon's men's ability is simple and easy to understand, then he still has some confidence. However, from the first time he came into contact with Corazon until now, the strength and abilities displayed by Corazon's men, those ninjas and those demons have made him elusive. But so far, there is no turning back when the bow is opened. Even if Sengoku had the heart to back down, he probably wouldn't have that chance. Don't worry, according to my judgment, none of Corazon's men have mastered armament hockey, and now we have 3 Lobia, the chance of winning is at least 70%. The faces of Zephyr and Garp froze, and there was only a 70% chance of winning. I am afraid that this data was said by Sengoku in order to stabilize Kizaru and the others. Array of 10,000 snakes. At this moment, Orochimaru's voice suddenly came from the ground, and the 6 people looked at each other, only to see Orochimaru's figure emerge from the ground strangely behind them, with his mouth open, thousands of Lion Majesty tongues sticking out, Zinzi biting over. I get goosebumps just looking at it. This guy's ability is even more frightening than his appearance. Aokiji said solemnly. HMPH, such an evil ability shouldn't exist in this sea. Akainu snorted coldly, his left arm was covered with violent magma, and the smell of hot sulfur made Lion Majesty afraid to approach. However, as the overwhelming Lion Majesty formed a wave of snakes, these Lion Majesty no longer had any fear, and rushed over bitingly. Great eruption. A violent wave of fire rose into the sky, and the magma on Akainu's arm formed a huge fiery fist, and the scorching breath distorted the surrounding air. The violent magma directly blasted the overwhelming Lion Majesty wave into a big hole, and a seductive smell of meat filled the air. Akainu's expression froze, unexpectedly, very weak. He thought that this overwhelming wave of Lion Majesty would have some amazing abilities, but he didn't expect to destroy half of it so simply. Yeah? At this moment, a Lion Majesty that was blown to the foot of the matter suddenly spoke hoarsely. Suddenly, the Grey Lion Majesty opened his mouth, and a figure covered in mucus crawled out, licked his lips with a wicked face, and with a flip of his hand, the Kusanagi sword directly split Akainu's body in 2, severing it in half broken. Akainu. All this happened in a flash, and when Sengoku reacted, Akainu's body had been severed. Advertisement, I'm fine. Akainu's body fell on the spot, then turned into a jet of lava and returned to human form. After Sengoku saw it, he wiped his cold sweat as if he had survived the catastrophe. Fortunately, there was no armament hockey. Even though he was not hurt, Akainu was still panting heavily, his eyes full of fear. The sword attack just now came from his blind spot. It was extremely tricky, and the speed was comparable to lightning. He didn't have a chance to react at all. If armament hockey wasn't covered on the long sword, he might have died long ago. Hey, you actually have the same ability as Ghost Lantern Water Moon. It looks like you will be restrained by attributes too. Orochimaru's body crawled out of Lion Majesty's mouth, his hoarse voice full of excitement. HMPH, this is the only time you can succeed, Akainu said in a cold voice, wiping the cold sweat off his brow. That's not necessarily the case. Orochimaru showed a wicked smile, stretched out his long tongue and licked his lips, and pointed his palm at Akainu. Hidden shadows with many snake hands. In an instant, more than a dozen Lion Majesties sprang out from Orochimaru's arm, biting towards Akainu at an extremely fast speed. Didn't I say that there is only one chance? Akainu roared, and the violent magma rolled and hit out from his hand, steaming those Lion Majesties in an instant, but a white snake nimbly avoided the attack. Vomit. With a retching sound, Orochimaru was spit out again, very close to Akainu, quickly pinched a few seals and shouted, "Water-style Da Luanbo." Immediately, water flow comparable to a small lake poured into this open space, and the magma on the matter's body touched the water flow and made a creaking sound. It turned into a pitch-black volcanic rock that smelled like sulfur. This guy can actually control the flow of water? Sengoku's pupils shrank, looking at the turbulent water in shock. It's not good. If this guy adds those ninjas, wouldn't he turn this area into a sea? Really, it's not as good as Kisame after all, otherwise the move just now can drag in at least 2 people. Orochimaru's eyes were full of regret, and what he said made Sengoku's eyes widen. This overwhelming water flow can't be compared to Hoshigaki Kisame. Hey, Orochimaru, if you don't want your experimental materials to be destroyed, get rid of one person quickly, otherwise, when those guys come over, do you think you can still see the whole body? Corazon looked at the sky in the distance, and raised his eyebrows. Deidara's birds could already be seen in the sky, and it was estimated that they would come over in a few minutes. Those guys. Seeing Deidara and others galloping over, Orochimaru's face was a bit ugly. It would be okay if Hidan Scorpion made a move, but if Deidara made a move, I'm afraid there would be no bones left. It can't be helped, White Snake Sage. Orochimaru took a deep breath, licked his lips, his body turned into a white snake strangely, and rushed over at an extremely fast speed. Chapter 56 Akainu Blown to Blossom, Second More, Advertisement. Chapter 56 Akainu Blown to Blossom, Second More. I really gave my life for the sake of the experimental level. Looking at Orochimaru who turned into White Snake Sage, Corazon couldn't help raising his eyebrows, and looked at Deidara and others again. 7 or 8 people are crowded on a big bird, and it is not too crowded. Iron Fist. Ignoring the White Snake Sage, Garp rushed over with a roar, armament hockey covered his hand, his fist was like a black iron titan, and with a violent wind, he punched Corazon. Mr. Garp really thinks highly of me. The corner of Corazon's mouth curled up, and his hands were covered with demon-like lines. Under the control of powerful repulsion, the force he exerted was even stronger than that of Garp. Able to beat Garp, Sengoku gritted his teeth fiercely and captured the thief first. As long as they can defeat Corazon, their battle this time is equivalent to half of the victory, but it seems that they may not be able to win. Double snake kill. At this moment, Orochimaru laughed hoarsely, and spit out 2 Lion Majesty nearly 10 meters in length from his mouth, covered in pitch black. The body was covered with a layer of mucus, and it quickly bit Akainu. This guy has such a quick reaction, he discovered Akainu's weakness so quickly. Zephyr frowned, and punched Orochimaru's snake. This kind of thing wants to restrain my magma, it really doesn't know what to do. Akainu snorted coldly as the magma surged in his hand, and grabbed the Lion Majesty directly. The mucus and magma creaked and emitted a pungent smell. His magma can almost be said to be something that cannot be restrained. Even if the water flow can be restrained, it will be evaporated by the magma in an instant. Suddenly, Akainu's eyes turned cold, and he grabbed the pair of hands covering the magma, and directly grabbed the mouth of the Black Lion Majesty, and the magma punched it in, directly burning the Lion Majesty to pieces. Do you still want to sneak attack us with the previous move? Do you think we will still be fooled by the same move? Akainu said in a cold voice. Catch him talking first, Zephyr urged, and his figure quickly moved towards Orochimaru. Akainu frowned, and wanted to say something, but he didn't say anything in the end, and snorted coldly. In the life and death fight, he still wanted to capture the other party. Zephyr Admiral really doesn't deserve to be Admiral. Akainu, who was furious in his heart, glanced at Corazon and Orochimaru, snorted coldly, and billowed magma hit the palace. Sinners dare to live in the palace, let me die in the magma today. At this moment, the air in front of Akainu strangely formed a shape of Uzumaki, and his magma fist seemed to be swallowed into a black hole, and he could no longer feel it. This is the demon fruit power of the space system? Akainu's face changed, and he looked at the distorted space in shock, feeling a little flustered in his heart. If we say that the weirdest thing in Devil Fruit is definitely Paramecia, and the weirdest thing in Paramecia is the space system. In the entire world, there have not been a few times information about space-type ability users, but I saw it here. It may not be demon fruit power, don't forget the abilities of those guys, Aokiji reminded with a frown. So far they don't know what the Ghost Lantern Full Moon, Pluton Mardo and others' abilities are, and they must not be careless. Advertisement, such a hot thing. I'm going to be burned to death, Senior Deidara, hurry up and save me. From the rotating space, a man wearing an orange mask and a black fire cloud robe jumped out. Is this the space user? Akainu frowned, and the billowing magma blasted directly at Afei. Space system ability user. The way of escaping is too fast, so he still chooses to deal with this guy first. Ah senior, I'm going to die. Looking at the hot magma in front of him, Afei was startled. It's so noisy, go to the side. There was a scolding sound from the sky, and immediately after, two huge white lovebirds flew down from the sky, just hitting the billowing magma. Feel my art. Drink. The moment the two lovebirds were swallowed by the magma, a shout came from the sky. Boom. The magma seemed to have swallowed two bombs, and it exploded suddenly. The powerful explosion wave brought the billowing magma to the surroundings, and Akainu took a few steps back quickly. As an enemy, I don't even have this level of vigilance. I don't deserve to be called my opponent. Well, go to hell. A young man with blonde braided hair, hands with a mouth, and eyes full of fanaticism jumped down from the sky. Listening to Deidara's words, Akainu showed doubts in his eyes, and he didn't understand what Deidara meant. But, in the next moment Akainu knew. I saw two small white centipedes hidden in the ground, quickly spreading to Akainu's body, forming a 2-meter-long centipede, tightly entangled Akainu's body. No, this is going to explode. Sensing the centipede on his body, Akainu showed a trace of fear in his eyes. His body quickly turned into magma, trying to burn the centipede, but it was too late. Deidara put his 10 fingers and 2 fingers together on his chest, and shouted frantically, "Road! I won! Art is explosive, sublimation. This is the highest masterpiece. Drink, idiot, what are the eyes for? Don't you see how Orochimaru's attack is ineffective?" A young man with red hair and expressionless face mocked like a puppet. Brother Scorpion, I forgot. Deidara smiled awkwardly and scratched his head with his hands. Boom. With a loud noise, Akainu's body exploded again like a goddess scattering flowers. This time, unlike Orochimaru's clean cut, Akainu's body turned into magma and scattered all over the sky for 4 weeks. Aokiji and Kizaru gasped and looked nervously at the magma everywhere. Hey, Sakazuki, are you dead? Chapter 57, Immortal Hidan, 3rd update. Advertisement Chapter 57, Immortal Hidan, 3rd update. Lucky to be alive. A slightly trembling voice sounded, and then, Akainu, who was blown into pieces, recovered his body under the wriggling of countless magma. But he still couldn't help trembling. At the moment just now, when his whole body was blown into pieces, he really thought he was going to die. Now I can verify what I said before, these guys really don't know armament hockey, that's great. Aokiji breathed a sigh of relief. Facing these strong men with strange abilities, if they knew armament hockey, they would really have no chance at all. But soon, Aokiji was dumbfounded. I saw that Kisame was wet all over, the color and appearance of his body was exactly the same as that of the sharks among the murlocs, and he came out of the sea on a shark. Long time no see, Kisame. Uchiha Itachi looked at Kisame and smiled slightly. Mr. Itachi, it's really been a long time, I didn't expect to fight side by side again. Kisame also showed a smile, and then Kisame and Uchiha Itachi turned their heads to look at Aokiji, Akainu and the others, and quickly stamped their hands under their stiff expressions. Water style. Big waterfall. The surging water flow is comparable to the scene of a large-scale tsunami eruption, covering the sky, shooting past like a tsunami coming at the end of the world. Aokiji, hurry up! Akainu shrank his pupils and roared loudly. If he was hit by the current, he would definitely be in a very disadvantageous state, not to mention whether he would be seriously injured. Needless to say, Ice Age, Aokiji took a deep breath, and quickly slapped his hand on the ground. A cold breath clicked on the ground, and quickly formed ice crystals, white ice crystals. And at a fast speed, everything around it was frozen, whether it was the ground, trees, or even the overwhelming tsunami, they all froze. Amatina Dai opened black lens bracket Amaterasu. Close black lens bracket. In Uchiha Itachi's eyes, the blood-red Mangekyo Sharingan spun crazily, and Akainu, who was stared at by Uchiha Itachi, suddenly let out a pain, looking at the flame on his magma arm in shock. It hurts, it hurts. Akainu gritted his teeth and shouted. How is it possible? Are you not magma? How can hockey hurt you without armament? Kizaru asked with wide eyes. It's the temperature of this flame, which has exceeded the temperature of my magma. Akainu gritted his teeth and shouted, peeling off layers of magma on his hand, trying to extinguish the fire of Amaterasu. Really, fires that are hotter than magma seem to be very common. Perusalino, if you gossip like that again, believe it or not, I'll kill you first, Akainu roared angrily. Advertisement Kizaru pouted, glanced at Akainu whose arms were covered by Amaterasu's fire, and didn't bother to talk back to him at this moment. His body turned into a ray of light and shot out like a laser. Brother, have you ever been kicked by a laser? When the light flickered, emitting a dazzling light, Kizaru suddenly appeared behind Hidan and said frivolously. Huh? Hidan showed surprise on his face, and then he didn't care. His face showed fanaticism. He grabbed the blood-red sickle behind his back and laughed. I didn't expect you to come to your door on your own initiative. Are you going to join our evil god sect? Boom. Kizaru didn't care what Hidan said, and kicked Hidan's shattering mouth. The light directly pierced Hidan's mouth, and kicked it flying out with blood flowing. Very good, very good. It's not easy to finally solve one end. Who told you that you are all a bunch of monsters? Kizaru raised his eyebrows and said this slowly, making people want to beat him up. That idiot Phaeton, who preaches his cult all day long, doesn't even know about his enemies. It's really embarrassing to be with him, Kakuzu said calmly. That's right, religion doesn't have the sense of art, right, Brother Scorpion, Deidara said, pouted and looked at Scorpion. That's right, religion cannot last forever. Only art, the eternal art, can last forever, Scorpion said lightly. No, brother Shay, although your spirit of yearning for art is commendable, but art refers to the beauty that is fleeting in a moment, and the scene that will never be forgotten in a lifetime is called art. Art that cannot be handed down, eternal beauty that you don't understand at all. Looking at Akatsuki, who was calm and still in the middle of bickering, Kizaru showed suspicion on his face. Don't these guys have any sympathy? As a member of an organization, seeing his companions die, it is so plain that it makes people feel creepy. It hurts, it hurts. B**********D. You dare to lay such a heavy hand on me. I will definitely sacrifice you to Lord Evil God. From the ruins of a hill in the distance, Hidan's painful voice came out. With the rumbling sound of chopping, Hidan walked out with a big hole pierced from mouth to head, and the wound was constantly healing. Hiss. Monster. Kizaru gasped. How could someone's brains have been dried out and not dead? It hurts, it hurts, it hurts, it really hurts. Hidan covered his head and roared angrily. That's why I said, let you be careful, Kakuzu said calmly, and stepped forward. How is it? Do you need me to help you? Chapter 58. The Decisive Crush, First Update, Advertisement. Chapter 58. The Decisive Crush, First Update. B*********D. You dare to make me suffer so much, I can't spare you. Hidan looked at Kizaru angrily, nodded with Kakuzu, and the two rushed up quickly. Don't think about it. Zephyr took a deep breath, roared, quickly covered armament hockey with his hands, and smashed the ground in front of Hidan and Kakuzu with one punch. HMPH, Didera, let's finish him. Scorpion snorted coldly, and took out a scroll from behind, which was the human puppet of 4th Cage. I see. Didera stood on the ground, put his hands into his pockets, and quickly swallowed a large piece of clay. In just a few seconds, a white dragon with a body length of tens of meters was created. No, deal with that guy first, Kakuzu. Uchiha Itachi, who kept releasing the fire of Amaterasu, suddenly looked at Kizaru in the sky, and another Mangekyo Sharingan twirled wildly. If they are all capable of elementalization, the threat of light is stronger than that of magma. Why are you only staring at me? Kizaru's face turned bitter. He was usually greeted because of the ability of this fruit, but now he can't escape when it comes to battle. It's really sad. Uchiha Itachi's left eye Mangekyo Sharingan spun rapidly, and drops of blood quickly dripped down from the bottom of the left eye. Tsukuyomi. Uchiha Itachi's deep voice rang in Kizaru's ears, and at the same time Kizaru's entire consciousness was instantly pulled into a wonderful space. Where is this place? Kizaru showed a look of shock on his face. The whole world has turned into black and white, and at the same time he was also tied to a cross. His whole body was up and down, only his eyes could move. Welcome to the world of Tsukuyomi. Uchiha Itachi's face was indifferent. A dagger appeared in his right hand, and a sword pierced into Kizaru's right arm. With the piercing of the dagger, Kizaru's eyes suddenly widened, but the shallow wound brought Kizaru great pain. How is it possible? I didn't feel hockey obviously. Why did the elementalization fail? Because of the pain. Drops of sweat dripped from Kizaru's face, and a look of shock appeared in his eyes. This is the spiritual world. In the Tsukuyomi world, I am the god of this space. I control everything about you, pain, perception, and space. After Uchiha Itachi uttered this sentence, rows of identical scenes appeared beside Kizaru. The same thing is that every Kizaru can perceive each other, which makes Kizaru's pain instantly rise to a peak. Chick. I don't know how long it has passed, but at this time Kizaru showed a bitter expression. He already knew that this is a spiritual world, but he can't bear even the G spirit. How long will it be over? After 7 days in the illusion space, Kizaru was in a trance, and when he appeared, he half kneeled on the ground in pain, feeling a burst of pain in his head. Advertisement however, the next moment, his face changed drastically, and his head was cut off directly. Before he could observe the situation, he quickly shot into the sky. Cut, it won't even leave blood, it's more pervert than me. Hidan glanced at his blood-red sickle and said impatiently. Kakuzu, think about it quickly, how can you restrain that pervert? Shut up, I'm already thinking, Kakuzu said in a cold voice, and then looked in the direction of Rain Shinobi village. If there is any restrained light, it is only the leader. At this moment, a man wearing a black fire cloud robe with an indifferent expression and eyes like purple Uzumaki slowly flew up above Rain Shinobi village. That is, standing on the tree, Kizaru swallowed dryly. He could feel a strong threat from pain. Universal pull. Tiandao Pain stretched out his palm, and the violent attraction gushed out from the palm, causing Kizaru's face to change drastically, and quickly turned into light, but his body still retreated. HMPH, the limit of gravity is a black hole. Although Tiandao Pain's attraction is not comparable to a black hole, you, Kizaru, are far from the speed of light. Seeing this scene, Corazon, who was pressing down on Garp, raised his mouth slightly. You still dare to be distracted in front of me, Ironbone Meteor. Seeing Corazon's gaze turn to the other side, Garp roared angrily, took this opportunity, grabbed a large stone with both hands covering armament hockey on it, and threw it towards Carter. Idiot, just because I don't look here doesn't mean I will ignore you. Corazon smiled slightly, pointed his right hand at Garp, and a surging fire burned out from the palm of his hand. Demon Flame of Repulsion. Boom. The surging power and burning flames, like burning a piece of white paper, easily crushed the stone, and the flame burned it into ashes. The dazzling fire light instantly illuminated the surrounding sea area of thousands of meters. Driven by the violent repulsion, the fire assisted the wind, making the flames burn hotter. Facing the scorching flames, Garp was sweating, and his eyes were extremely solemn. So, who was the distraction? Garp stared gravely at the flames, oblivious to what was happening behind him. But at this moment, Corazon's playful voice suddenly appeared behind Garp, startling Garp into a panic, and armament hockey quickly covered his back. Late. The corner of Corazon's mouth curled up, and he quickly put his palm on Garp's back, and shouted, Super God Luo Tianzheng. This power is stronger than Whitebeard. Garp let out an unbelievable roar, and was struck by a meteorite. The powerful force passed through his internal organs, causing Garp to spit out a mouthful of blood. His body was like a shell that was thrown out, and he rushed towards the flames in the sky. Garp. Sengoku, who had fought with Orochimaru, couldn't help roaring when he saw this scene. His body glowed with golden light, and he ran over desperately. Chapter 60 billion Detonating Talismans, Second Change. Advertisement Chapter 60 billion Detonating Talismans, Second Change. Garp. Sengoku roared. Oh, the two old buddies have fought side by side for many years, and they can understand each other's meaning with just 2 words. Sengoku's hand flashed golden, and the shockwave released, in order to buy time for Garp, blasted straight into the sharp flame. Overreach. Corazon's eyes turned cold, and he burned violently, and the transformed flame instantly hit Sengoku's Buddha body under the impact. I am a devil's fire that can burn even magma. The mere impact is not half as good as mine. Drink. Corazon let out a low growl, and flames that could burn the sea spread up Sengoku's arms. You. Sengoku couldn't help screaming. The shock wave on his body couldn't even blast the flames away. Damn evil brat, get out of here. Garp looked at the old man who was screaming. With a roar, armament hockey was covered in his hands. Taking 2 steps in the sky, he caught up with Corazon who was flying in midair and punched him down. So, why do you think I didn't notice you? Corazon didn't even look back. 6 golden chains spread out from behind, followed Garp's fist, and wrapped around Garp's left fist in a straight line. This kind of chain is nothing. Garp glanced at the chain in his hand, and roared loudly. There is a lot of anger in my heart. Clatter clatter. The glittering golden adamantine ceiling chains were rattled by Garp, as if they might break at any moment. The corners of Corazon's mouth curled up slightly, and he couldn't help laughing. So what if you have a lot of anger in your heart? Can anger be regarded as strength? Don't be joking. As a weak person, don't speak wild words. Clatter clatter. Garp looked in shock at the golden chains on his body, which began to spread along the palm lines until it completely wrapped his upper body. Accompanied by gusts of wind, Garp's complexion changed drastically, and he tried to break free from the golden chain with all his strength. However, the golden chain, like a maggot attached to the bone, suddenly swayed, and the sky spun in an instant. Boom! With a deafening bang, Garp was entangled by the end of the chain and smashed to the ground on the beach, setting off a blast of sand. Boom! Boom! Advertisement, boom! Garp's figure was swung back and forth, hitting the ground with countless cracks and big pits everywhere. Even if Garp's strength is amazing, he can barely protect his body with armament hockey at this time, otherwise he will be smashed after a few times his head was bleeding. Even 9 tails can trap the adamantine ceiling chains. Just because you want to break free, is it possible that your strength is stronger than 9 tails? Corazon couldn't help but sneer. Uzumaki Kushina has the strongest seal control. The adamantine ceiling chains on his body made 9 tails unable to move a single step when 9 tails attacked Konoha village. If it wasn't for his weak body, Hokage would have ended early. Garp. Sengoku gritted his teeth and looked at Garp. An inexplicable panic appeared in his heart. If even the 2 of them were defeated, Zephyr Akainu and the others alone. Resisting the pain from the flames on his body, Sengoku glanced behind him, and his expression changed drastically. Under the siege of everyone organized by Akatsuki, even Zephyr suffered a lot of injuries, and Akainu Aokiji had no choice but to parry. No, Marine can't bear this kind of loss. Sengoku gritted his teeth and aimed his fist in Garp's direction, trying to help Garp out of trouble first. Suddenly, a man wearing a black windbreaker embroidered with red clouds, Shao organization, costume, with light blue-purple hair, light orange pupils, a lavender paper flower on the right side of the head, purple eyeshadow, a woman with nails at the lower end of her lips, and wings made of paper behind her back, flew into the air. Your Majesty, before you do anything, I'll take care of all these guys first. Hey, wait, your trick. Seeing Conan stretch out his right hand, and endless detonating symbols spread out from his body, covering the entire beach and sea area, Corazon's eyelids twitched slightly. Wouldn't it be the trick he thought of? God's paper technique? Your Majesty, please step back. These guys are too difficult to deal with. Let me get rid of them with one move, Conan said respectfully. Well. Corazon's eyelids twitched, looking at the detonator that was almost an ocean, and silently mourned for Garp and Sengoku. If there is no elemental Kuzan Akainu and others, you don't need to be so miserable. So many detonating symbols. My bounty. Kakuzu looked at the overwhelming number of detonating symbols, and his face turned dark immediately. He said that the people in the Shao organization didn't need to spend too much at all. If so, where did all the money he earned go? Look now, it's all spent on this prodigal girl. Brother Scorpion, look quickly. Even Conan understands my art, which means my explosion art is better. Deidara couldn't help but get excited when he saw the detonating talisman covering the entire ocean, and shouted. Idiot, that's just because the detonating talisman is so powerful, Scorpion cursed coldly. Then, watching Conan's movements, I muttered to myself, his puppet skills are also very strong, why not use his puppet? 60 billion detonating symbols, the explosion lasts for 1 minute, let's end it. Conan flew into the air indifferently, and as soon as he stretched out his hand, the powerful chakra poured into the 60 billion detonating symbols. A ray of light gradually lit up on the coast, and gradually became dazzling, until it formed the light of a sun. Boom. Chapter 61 The Unpredictable Ability, 3rd. Advertisement Chapter 61 The Unpredictable Ability, 3rd. The explosion of 60 billion detonating symbols is really beautiful. This is the real art. The flower of the explosion blooms in a moment, and the beauty presented is the most beautiful in the world. Deidara opened his hands, watching the explosion of the detonating talisman fanatically, his eyes full of little stars. Hey, little Kakuzu, can you give me some money and let me buy tens of billions of detonating symbols? Deidara asked with starry eyes. Do you want me to disembowel you and take your heart? Kakuzu said coldly with a dark face. Hey, little Kakuzu, please, shut up Deidara. Scorpion with black hair grabbed Deidara's collar and walked outside. Didn't you see that Kakuzu is like a powder keg now? Touch it twice and it will explode. My money. My money. Kakuzu looked at the detonating talisman that exploded overwhelmingly with resentment on his face. The detonating talisman that exploded was either a detonating talisman or wasting money. After waiting for the explosion to end, Kakuzu clutched his chest and almost spat out a mouthful of blood. After burning so much money, he still hasn't died. At the center of the explosion, there was no ruins as imagined from Deidara's perspective, but a layer of black ice standing in it, tightly wrapping the 6 people in the center. Among them, Kizaru was in a cold sweat and heaved a sigh of relief. If he hadn't been so vigilant and pulled Aokiji and Akainu over, Garp Sengoku Zephyr would have died. Garp was half kneeling on the ground, panting heavily, with a look of survivors on his face. Sengoku and Zephyr were not much better either because they were scared or completely armed, and Haki couldn't stand the excessive physical exertion. Perusalino, what's the matter with your injuries? Those guys shouldn't be armed, Haki. Looking at the injury on Kizaru's shoulder that seemed to be pierced by some sharp weapon, Zun Xing asked through gritted teeth. I don't know, who knows what weapon that monster uses? With a bitter face, Kizaru pointed to Tiandao Pain in the sky holding a yin-yang stick. Gravity and repulsion had no effect on him. The key was that the stick made his elementalization impossible. What to do? Zephyr took a look at the situation, his heart was beating rapidly, he turned his head and asked Sengoku to continue fighting, I'm afraid they are really going to die here. Prepare to evacuate, Aokiji Akainu Kizaru, and I stay here, Garp, you take Zephyr and get out of here. Up to now, Sengoku has a bitter face, but he has no choice but to start preparing to escape. If they continue to stay, just one Corazon is enough for them, if they add those monsters. Garp took one look at Zephyr, put him on his shoulders, and ran out to sea. Among the 6, Zephyr is probably the weakest at this time. Because of the murder of his wife and son, his strength has been greatly reduced. Want to run? Performance of 100 machines? Scorpion's eyes turned cold, and he opened a piece of wood on his chest, and countless blue chakra lines shot out from it, and then he took out a second scroll from behind. Advertisement, haha. The overwhelming puppets, flying in midair controlled by the chakra line, surrounded the entire coast. Give Garp time. Sengoku roared, and the giant Buddha emitting golden light punched down, and the violent shockwave directly shattered dozens of puppets. Feel my art. Seeing the scorpion being attacked, Deidara threw dozens of white lovebirds with both hands and exploded on Sengoku's body. Universal pull. Tiandao Pain stretched out his hand indifferently, and Akainu, whose face was boiling with magma, changed drastically and was directly sucked in. Bah! Facing Akainu's fist, Tiandao Pain waved his hand indifferently, and the powerful repulsion directly shattered it, and the black iron rod easily pierced Akainu's shoulder. Great eruption! Akainu screamed in pain, and then swung his fist. Hot magma covered his body from outside, covering his entire body with magma. Ha ha ha! You can't escape now, obediently become a sacrifice to the evil god. Seeing this scene, Hidan laughed wildly, holding a blood-red sickle in his hand, leaving a scratch on the ground. Draw a deep wound. Ice Age. Aokiji's face was serious, and he clapped his hands on the ground. In an instant, a sharp iceberg rose from the ground, with a height of hundreds of meters. The ice-covered sharp point smashed the black stick of Tendo Pain, barely allowing Akainu to escape. Out. If it's Han Bing, take my move. Kakuzu opened his mouth and threw away the Huion robe he was wearing, revealing his body sewn with silk threads, looking extremely ferocious. Hey, they can still live like this, are they really human? Sengoku couldn't help cursing inwardly, since he knew them about Corazon, the enemies he encountered became more and more weird. Let's not talk about murlocs and demons. The so-called Hidan has his head pierced, but he still can't die. The one in front of him is even more terrifying. His whole body is sewn up with silk threads, like a puppet made of a bunch of limbs. Earth resentment. Kakuzu bent his body slightly, let out a low growl, and an even more dumbfounded scene happened. The body that was originally stitched, the dense silk thread seems to have life, continuously wandering on Kakuzu's body. 4 huge gaps are opened in the skin behind the footsteps, the body is constantly wriggling, as if some monster is about to crawl out of it. What is that? Who are you? Aokiji narrowed his eyes, and slowly released a chill from his feet, which gradually spread to Kakuzu's body. Shaoji Beidou, Kakuzu. Kakuzu glanced at Aokiji with pale green eyes, his face was expressionless, and his cold voice made Aokiji suddenly. This organization is called Shao, and being able to have a codename in this organization means that it is a cadre-level person, no wonder there is such a strong strength. Kakuzu is in my team, today is really cheap for you, but that guy is dead. Hidan looked at the blood on his hand and said frantically. A team of 2? Aokiji frowned. If this is the case, it means there is another guy. Where is it? So much nonsense. Hidan. Kakuzu said indifferently with a cold face and impatience in his eyes. Resentment from the hardening technique. Kakuzu yelled, and groups of jet black silk threads emerged from his body. These threads quickly formed a huge black fist, and suddenly smashed towards Aokiji.